I want to take this as an opportunity tonight to clear up some misconceptions, because the internet will just say all kinds of things, but the real proof is in whether or not you can go live it in the real world. But do not make any mistake about it. Hoes don't win. Now, you might be able to find a few outliers here or there, but that's not the metric that you use. When you take a look at the long run, when you go back and tabulate the score and add it all up, what you find is the hoes don't win. And I thought this would be a good opportunity now in the middle of holiday season, in the middle of cuffing season, in the middle of winter season, where people's relationships either solidify or fall apart. I thought this would be a good opportunity for us to take a retrospective. And let's go ahead and parse through the data and through the files and to determine whether or not the hoes actually ever win. And I got bad news for the hoes. I've counted up all the scores, and it's looking really bad over there for you. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world. Pull up a chair. It's time to get down to the business. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, Mr. Jason Black, back again here with another edition of the program that laid the foundation upon which all of these red pill, MGTOW, high value frauds, alpha male, clueless losers, and all the rest of them will be stealing the stuff they're going to be talking about next week or maybe even tonight. You'll be hearing it here now before they get started. All I ask for you here is make sure that you go ahead and like tonight's program and share this. They are going to attempt to suppress this badly because this website, YouTube, makes a lot of money off of celebrities and the fraud and deception that they're winning, and that the hoes can actually win. And in reality, they are not. So let me tell you where this really started here. I wanted to talk about this actually a couple of weeks ago, but as you know, I've been dealing with a number of different subjects here. So I've been trying to distribute them evenly in a balanced manner. But really, I got to talking about older women. We got to talking about older females, which of course begs the question, so many of them thought that their hoe phases were something they could dabble with their whole lives and found out they couldn't. And I got to thinking there was a name that popped into my head. Mimi Faust. Does anyone remember Mimi? What about Mimi? The emancipation of Mimi. Does anyone remember Mimi Faust? Well, I do. And as you'll all remember here, don't you remember, it was a game for her too, as a matter of fact. Oh, don't worry, everything's going fine, everything's going great. Why, I've got the world by the neck. I'm going to go out here and do some real big hoe stuff. I mean, not some little hoe stuff, some real big hoe stuff here. Oh, this is going to be super slick. If Kim K can do it, why, watch me. I can double down on it. Now, remember, this was supposed to be one of the original winning ones, remember? I mean, she single-handedly basically made shower curtain rods precious metals in a matter of days. Marketing-wise, it wasn't good, it was brilliant. Marketing-wise. But then you take a look at the guy she was with. You take a look at that fella, Nico Smith. You take a look at that and you realize there's a damn mismatch if you ever saw one. She clearly was the breadwinner. She clearly was on top of things. And lo and behold, you start saying to yourself, okay, to the guys who didn't get with her because this was the kind of fella she preferred, this was the lifestyle she preferred, do the hoes actually win? So what you got to do is you got to go ahead and let the tale play out. Let the events play out. And then you get to come back much later. Do you have the patience to come back later and say, let me investigate what's going on. We're going to come back and do a review with you in a few years to find out, how did this all pan out? Did it work out the way that you claimed it would? Well, in the case of Mimi Faust, we didn't have to wait too long about that. Her and Nico are not together anymore because, well, she's found some new people to hang out with now. I will be the first to confess, when I was reviewing this stuff, because I haven't kept up with her, I didn't keep up with any of this. I didn't keep up with her at all. So when I reviewed it, I went to go see, okay, what's she up to here now? And she's with somebody named Ty Young. And the first words that hit my mouth were, First words that hit my mind was, well, she sure is with a rather beautiful dude. That was the first thing I thought. I was like, wow, it looks like one of those Japanese anime characters. I'm like, wow, that dude's really beautiful. Where'd she find him? And I just couldn't get over it. I was like, kept looking and realized that, well, the reason that he's so cute is because it ain't a he. So there you go. Pictures of them with bikinis and every damn thing else on. So yeah, all right. When the whole phase don't work out the way you thought. Now, I got a couple of questions here. First of all, is this proof? Does this constitute evidence that she just can't handle a strong black man? We need to ask ourselves that first of all. First of all, let's ask ourselves, is this not evidence that apparently she can't handle a strong black man? So she went to go get herself a strong black woman. All right. Look, I'm asking questions. That's all. But I just got, and by the way, her and her girlfriend here, they've been off again, on again, engaged now for I think a couple of years. They keep fighting. They keep getting into it. So just a few days ago, they've now announced that they are engaged again, apparently. But I got a question to ask you. For anybody who thought this crap was cute, for anyone who thought that this was innocuous, for anyone who thought this was a harmless event, for anyone who thought this was a victimless crime and that don't worry, you can just play around. For those of you who are congenitally emotionally immature and completely bass-ackward, you tell me here, does this look like winning? Does this look like winning? And by the way, this is just one among many. We're not going to run down the list. But by the way, does this look like winning to any of you? Does this look like she won? Did the hoes win? Now that we're going back and adding up the score, did the hoes win? Did the hoes win? I don't know. You all let me know. To the fellas, I want to ask the fellas, not the ladies, the fellas. Fellas, do you feel like this was a win? Do you still think the hoes are winning? If you do, give me a thumbs up in the chat. If you don't, give me a thumbs down in the chat. To the fellas only here, is this an example of the hoes winning? Now that we've been able to come back in retrospect and check on it years later, is this an example of the hoes winning? If you think this was a win, thumbs up. If you think this was a loss, thumbs down. And while you're at it, everyone here watching, they're going to try to suppress this program here tonight. Go ahead and hit the likes for me and then hit the shares for me here. Some folks are hating on what we're doing right now. I can see right now with our ratios here, they're hating on what we're doing. So go ahead and hit my likes for me. Let them know that we bombing on them properly. But let's hit the likes. Well, there's a whole bunch of folk who thought they were going to get by. I guess they figured it was going to go easy for them here. But man, let me tell you, ain't nothing easy about this. Never going to be. I mean, a few years ago, there were a bunch of chicks out there and whatnot. Hey, don't worry. I'll go through my whole time. Hell, I can make a whole damn career out of it. I'll make a whole damn career out of it. And when I get done, I'm going to get to exit the game clean, go grab me a squeaky clean dude, and we're going to march off into the sunset and I'll be straight. Then you wake up one day and realize all the squeaky clean dudes aren't going to come near you with a 50-foot pole. So you just get stuck with what you get stuck with. Imagine being the preeminent female rapper of your time, one of the biggest names in entertainment. You're mobbed up with Amazon. Even Amazon can't help you in this situation. This is where you are. Nicki Minaj, after all this work, all this shade, all this shine, after all of this, and this was the best she could do. After a decade of whoring herself to the world, this is the best she could do. All those butt implants, all that surgery, all that cosmetic surgery, and this was the best she could do. Someone tell me, now that we get to come back here and tally up the score, is this winning? For all of you who thought, oh, well, don't worry, Nicki winning, she winning, hoes be winning. this is a win? This is a win? You think her income compensates for this? How many of you out there are these luckless, clueless souls who believe that her income compensates for this? Her income, her status, everything else, and the best she could get was this. This was the best she could do. Is this a win? Is this a win? Maybe we need to go a little bit further into it here. Back in the day. Maybe we need to go a little bit back in the day. One of the original OG hoes. Faith Evans. I'll be damned. This heifer was such a big hoe back in the 90s. She was such a hoe back in the 90s. She inspired a hit song. Tupac, hit him up. She inspired a hit song or two. A song or two. Kind of makes the hoes today look tame by comparison. All right. Well, how did that turn out? She can go get hoed up. She can go get drugged up. She can go get thugged up. She can do this, that, and the other. Everything's going to work out fine. Remember? Okay, y'all said the hoes be winning. Does this look like winning? See, I'm not talking about some stupid ass internet memes from some high schoolers who can barely type out a literate sentence. Let's go back and parse through the data. Let's go back and parse through the numbers. Let's go back and review the files. And where did these people really end up? Not referring to you and some brain dead slogan. Let's go and take a look and follow up with them and see where they really ended up with. Well, we see where Faith Evans ended up after all these years. I hope she's making plenty of money on tour. She's going to need it to pay the alimony. She's going to need it to pay for her side piece dudes and the ex. That's where she ended up at. Because she couldn't be faithful to this man. So this is where she's at now. Now, of course, she's going to try to save face for the internet. Of course, they all do that. Faith Evans says, I'm not paying spousal support. Ma'am, this isn't a popularity contest and this isn't a debate. And by the way, you ain't the first one to claim she wasn't going to pay and then ends up paying. Remember old Mary J. Oh, I hate to kick a chick while she down, but she right here by my Timberlands. I'll just call it an accident. Remember old Faith Evans remember old Mary J was up there singing. Oh, you think you're going to take me? You ain't going to get a dime. He didn't get a dime, baby. He got 30,000 of them things. 30,000 of them things. That'll finance him good while he looks for a next chick. Now Mary J talking about the next man got to have more than me. Baby, if you don't quit dreaming. Yeah, old Mary J was talking that noise too, remember? Old Mary J was popping off at the lip about what she wasn't going to have to pay. The judge swung that hammer straight at her head. Oh, you going to pay all this. Yeah, you can sit up there and talk on the internet all you want to. Remember what I told y'all, when folk get in court, now you're not going to be lying up in there. So Faith Evans can say whatever she wants to say. Judge Wapner is going to take care of the rest. Does this look like a win? I know we're only 13 minutes in, by the way. We're not 30 minutes in tonight. We're only 13 minutes in tonight. Does this look like a win to you? Is this a win? Somebody tell me, does this look like the hoes won? In the end, when you came back and added up all the scores, did they win? Who's the clown who thinks it's a win? Well, there are some folks who, like I say, over time, you follow up with them long enough. Oh man, it gets rough out here. It gets rough out here, as you all know. I have repeatedly told you, Kim Kardashian was trained and taught by the best in the game. Kris Kardashian had the best coach in the game. It wasn't like her daughters were geniuses. They had to have a hell of a coach, Mom was a hell of a coach. And mom said, you can't get Jay-Z because he's already been taken. So you can't get the number one rapper. You will get the number one rapper who is available. And mom was able to get her to get married to Kanye West. For whatever her reasons here, Kim decided she wanted to go ahead and get divorced, and look at her now. Now, for those of you who think it's it's okay, let's be very, very clear. These are people who live and die by their image. She ain't trying to work. She ain't trying to do any of that. You take a look at where they were. Oh boy, gonna hurt some feelings right quick. You take a look at where they were. Let me go ahead and zoom in. Make sure you see that real nice and good there. People Magazine. You take a look at that. That was the 2 years. That was the last year. Just last year. Take a look at that. And then take a look at her today. And how did you get here, Kim? How did you get here? Well, it's real simple. It is real simple how you got here. You got here because in the case of Kim Kardashian, you have a man who loves you, but doesn't respect you. Love and respect are not mutually inclusive. And in the case of Kim Kardashian, Kanye West was a man who loved her and still does, but he doesn't respect you. And he doesn't respect you as a direct result of your hoe behavior, both past and present. How many of y'all remember this? I've edited this for YouTube, but how many of y'all remember this? How many of you remember this? That was thumbing him in the eye over that. She was thumbing her nose at him and thumbing him in the eye. You ain't gonna stop me from doing things the way I want to. And he never forgot that. It would be one thing if she had done that sex video and left it all behind. After she becomes a married woman, she refuses to let it go. You remember this was one of Kanye's major complaints. Remember, he complained about it during a concert that he didn't want his daughters growing up walking around naked and thinking that was okay. Remember? He was never okay with that. He was never all right with that. And by the way, in case the world forgot, that wasn't something he was okay with. He was never all right with it, but you kept going and going and going and going. You couldn't be told anything. You did not leave your hoe phase behind you. You brought your hoe phase with you. You were a disciplinary problem. You couldn't be told anything. Now you don't have to be told anything. You can go ahead and go 50-50 at Chipotle now. Let me tell you right there, that doesn't feel good. She's 40 years old, and at this point here, she's supposed to be on Easy Street. You tell me, how many 5-carat diamond rings is this dude gonna be able to get? How many vacations to Turks and Caicos and Egypt and Cairo is this dude gonna be able to pay for? How much of her lifestyle is this guy gonna be able to finance? Simple question. Because you see, that's what she's accustomed to. She's accustomed to that with her mother, and she was accustomed to that with her ex-husband. Let me tell you, she's ruined. She ain't ruined, she's ruined. Because this man on your screen is a hard-ass act to follow. So she can get a companion, but that's going to get old pretty damn quick. You want a producer. And let me tell you, for this to be on display publicly, that you went from Kanye to some anonymous dude on a milk carton, that's the best that Kim Kardashian can do now. This dude isn't up there with Chris Humphries, Reggie Bush, even Ray J. This guy is below Ray J. Nobody knows who this is. And at 40 years old, I told you all the worst thing she could do. Remember, I told you The worst thing that she could do would be to attempt to re-enter the dating market. And I don't discuss dating, we discuss power dynamics. This is a hell of a power dynamic. You want to know why Kanye didn't have tears in his beer? Is because he knows the whole world is making a direct comparison between where she was and where she is, and it ain't looking good. It ain't looking good. And when she compares her lifestyle and what she can look forward to and what she can depend on to where she is now, let me tell you, she ain't happy. This is not what it's supposed to be. She went out there in front of the whole world and showed the whole world, this is the best I can get. Now you tell me, the very next guy that she tries to go with or level up with or whatever, who is it going to be? Because they're going to take a look at remember, as men, we take a look at the last guy you were with. Well, hell, heifer, if Pete Davidson was good enough for you, why in the hell does another man have to sit up here and take you to 5-star hotels and 5-star resorts and exclusive restaurants? Why does he have to do that? Heifer, you was just getting laid on by Pete Davidson. How are you going to negotiate for a higher price now? You still believe the hoes be winning? Is there any brain dead backward jackass still telling you the hoes be winning? Yeah, when you listen to your tweenagers and teeny boppers with their internet memes and grown folk out here repeating internet memes from teeny boppers, a lot of y'all are not a whole lot smarter. For us adults in the room, where they winning? Where they winning? Where they winning? All right. Maybe that's not enough. Oh, hell no. Speaking of the Kardashians here, no trip through their Rolodex would be complete without seeing the collateral damage that tends to pile up around them. Hoes travel in packs. Winners travel in packs, so do losers. Blac Chyna, oh boy, she was pulling up the rear. She had an opportunity to make it big. She had too much of her mama in her. Destroyed herself right out of the damn gate. Couldn't even get this simp down the damn aisle. And what do you know? When you come back and follow up with her, it ain't looking so great. And we're talking about these stories on your screen here are basically from the last week. Basically from the last week. She's making headlines, all right. Just nothing you'd really want to post up out there. Yeah, see, this is her judgment. This is her strategy. This is her planning. Look, I want you to understand something and keep this in mind for the rest of your lives here, people. Where you are in life at 20, you shouldn't be in the same place by the time you get to 30. Wherever you are at 30 shouldn't be where you were at 20. And wherever you are at 40 shouldn't be where you were at 30. There's supposed to be evolution, progress, elevation. That's supposed to be a product of you living and learning life and learning the ropes and learning how this thing works and making wise decisions that profit you and benefit you and improve your life and enhance your circumstances. You're not supposed to be doing the same dumb crap over and over again and ending up in a worse place. That's not what's supposed to happen. Not at all. If you're feeling what I'm talking about here tonight, go ahead and testify. Hit the likes for me here. Hit the likes for me. They hating on it right now. Y'all go ahead and hit the likes for me. They hating on it. And they're hating because I'm telling the truth. Why? Because you didn't bother to go back and go ahead and check the numbers and check the results and do a follow-up to see whether or not the crap that you were saying was true or not. You claim the hoes be winning. I'm looking to see where the win is. I'm looking to see where the win is. I'm looking to see where they win. I don't see where they're winning. When I go back and check on it, I don't see a win. I see back-to-back L's because their income doesn't make them a winner. When you go and check and see who values them, you see, it doesn't work out very well. It doesn't work out very well because it can't. Well, just in case you thought that was all we needed there. Oh yeah, I brought plenty. I didn't bring receipts. I brought invoices. We could do this all night if you want to. We can go down the list. Amber Rose, another one of Kanye West alumni. Another one of the rejects from the Kanye West alumni. Let me tell you something. When you're with a dude like that, no matter what his other proclivities might be, he's kind of screwball, but understand something. When they leave, they're broken. When they leave, they're broken. You know why? Because they take this huge step down. Imagine going down a flight of stairs and you're going down one stair and the next stair. Then imagine that third stair, somebody changed it and there's like a 6-foot drop. The first 2 stairs, there was the standard 8-inch drop between stairs. But then on that third stair, it was a 6-foot drop. Not enough to kill you necessarily, but if you didn't see it, it's definitely going to hurt you. And even if you climb down, it's not very comfortable. Well, that's what happened after the fact. That's what happened after the fact. In the chat room, a man said another college dropout. Graduation day or dropout day. It can be either one. And yeah, I want to draw a few parallels here in just a few moments here. But first of all, remember I covered this story weeks ago. Nobody fell for this head fake. We're discussing power dynamics. Amber Rose thought that she was going to pull a power play. She thought she was pulling a power play. Amber Rose thought that she was going to publicly show the world that she could shame her husband and she was going to use her ex to sit up here and shame this dude. And she was going to come out winning all the way around. That she was going to come out winning all the way around. And nobody fell for this head fake. Nobody fell for that. Nobody thought that she was about to get back with Wiz Khalifa. And let me explain to you why it is that nobody thought that. There's a simple fact of power dynamics in a romantic relationship. In all relationships with a romantic one, there's a simple fact of power dynamics. People know that a man with options never goes back. He dabbles, he plays, he likes other people to see that he has access to that woman or that he can play with other people's stuff. And he likes to get that thrill. So that's something that females like to do. Females like to get a thrill from getting attention. Well, there are dudes out there that sometimes they like to be able to floss and show the world that, hey, they get a thrill out of getting attention by demonstrating their power and showing that he has access to this woman and that she's at his beck and call. But as far as what he's going to invest in, as far as what he's going to put resources in, man, a man with options never returns to dump resources into the same place twice. When a man with options turns off the spigot is off. He'll come back and stare at you. He'll play with you. He'll play with his food. He might come back and play with his food, but that's going to be the end of it. A man with options isn't like dudes without options. Dudes without options beg and plead. But a man with options, he's going to stick there just long enough to say, yeah, heifer, you thought you was going to move on. You thought you were going to show me you could do better. And you found out I was the best you could do. And you disrespected me. You publicly disrespected me. And then you found out I was the best you could do. You didn't play me, you played yourself. Because now I'm about to go show the whole world that, by the way, it doesn't work if I'm not competing for you. She's the one following up behind Wiz Khalifa now. Wiz isn't competing for her. Truth be told, he never was. Fellas, to the fellas listening right now, it's time for you to detox from the red pill. The red pill has misinformed so many of you. The reason why these relationships bother you so much is because you are dealing with everything from a position of weakness. I am trying to instruct you about how it feels when you are dealing with a situation from a position of strength. And when you're dealing from a position of strength, when it is very clear that you are the commodity that people are competing for, then you view these things, and more importantly, you feel about them differently. You feel differently. You can't help it. It's reflexive. So he doesn't have to wonder what his value is in the dynamic. He already knows what his value is. And I want to go ahead and point out one more thing here that I would be remiss if I didn't point this out. Take a look at old A.E. Edwards on your screen right there. Take a look at him, and then take a look at Kim's new boo. I just wanted to take a moment here to point that out to you. Take a look at A.E. Edwards. And then take a look at Pete Davidson. Yeah, I couldn't help but notice a similarity. When these females checked out and cashed out, couldn't help but notice. When they took that major step downward, that's an issue. When they took that major step downward, then all of a sudden, take a look at what happened. The guys that they are with are obviously borderline, obviously inferior, obviously deficient. And I just couldn't help but notice a striking similarity. I just couldn't help but notice a striking similarity. So I just thought that was worth pointing out. I thought it was worth pointing out. There's a great misnomer that's been circulating here for years now. The hoes allegedly be winning. Well, I was just the only guy who decided to go ahead and stop what he was doing and stop long enough to go ahead and tally up the scores and see whether or not they win. And the list goes on. The list goes on. Like I say, look, we could be here all night doing this. In the chat room, y'all talking about Erykah Badu, Megan Good. We could be here for hours and hours. The bottom line is that when you do a follow-up visit, when you actually bother to go back and do a follow-up with them and go check to see, did they ever actually win? Then you realize, oh hell, the folks on the internet talking about hoes be winning, they can't find a single win. There aren't any wins in there. You might find one or two outliers somewhere. You might find one or two outliers, but as a rule, they don't win. They don't win. It doesn't turn out that way. It goes bad. It goes awful. Might take a little while for it to catch up. With some of them, it might take a minute, but eventually the wheels come off the wagon, the train comes off the tracks. And next thing you know, it's done. And everything that we told you, there it is. Somebody said that the hoes win. I just asked a very basic question. Show me where they are. Show me where they are. So we had an opportunity here for us to go ahead and just do a retrospective on this and do a year in review. And I wanted to take this as my chance to take a look at them. And you show me where they winning at. Did the hoes ever win? If Biggie was still alive today, you do realize this is exactly where Faith Evans would be, right? Let me go ahead and remind you, if Biggie was still alive today, this is exactly where Faith Evans would be. This is exactly where she would be. She would be right where she is right now. She would be right here, right now, doing that. Because that's where they all end up at. That's where they all go. That's where they're all at. I've been trying to tell you here, fellas, one of the main reasons why one-itis and being a incel is silly is because it doesn't really matter. As long as you are elevating your value, she gonna be there. She's gonna be there 5 minutes from now. She's gonna be there 5 months from now. She's gonna be there 5 years from now. If you are disciplined and you are driven and you are building and you are enhancing the value of your life, just understand at the end of the day, folks can run their mouths, but the bank ain't gonna lie for either one of you. So if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and increasing your value, the results are gonna show themselves. And if they're not, ultimately it's gonna come out. And they always, always, always come back after they've had an opportunity to attempt to prove that fat meat ain't greasy. But it definitely is. It definitely is. And I wanted to do this program here tonight for the young fellas out there because so many of you are being outrageously misinformed across the board. It's not even funny. You're being so badly misinformed that it's not even cute. I want to ask a basic question right now. I want to ask the ladies in the chat room here, to the women listening in the chat room. I want to ask you all a basic question. To those of you listening live or recorded, I want to give you a few moments here to lodge your responses. I want you to lodge your responses with a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the females listening to me right now. Did you believe that when Mimi Faust did this, that this was just harmless and this was her right and her prerogative and it's her body and dudes just need to accept that? How many of you thought that this was okay for her to do? How many of you thought that there would be no negative repercussions for this? How many of you thought that there wouldn't be a price to pay? Now, I want you to be honest. Go ahead and be honest for once. Be completely candid for once. How many of you thought this was harmless and that it would be okay? If you thought that, give me a thumb to the ladies. If you thought that, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't think that, give me a thumbs down. Well, so far, the numbers seem to be panning out exactly the way you would expect here. It wasn't a victimless crime. And understand something, there was a whole bunch of females at the time running around talking about, oh, that's great and that's wonderful. She can do whatever she wants to. It's all hee hee ha ha. Those are the chicks who 7 years later are still sitting around wondering, oh my God, where's my man at? You got to understand, hoes will keep you alone. Hoes will keep you destitute. You know why? Because there's no such thing as a powerful whore. There is no such thing as a hoe with power. Because there is no such animal as sexual power. Sex is not a power. Understand that. There's no such thing as sexual power. Sex is a byproduct of power. In case nobody ever told you, sex is a byproduct of power. The reason that this red pill stuff is so pervasive today and why so many folks like Rolla Tomasi and people just get everything wrong is because they don't understand it's not about sex, it's about power. And nobody wants to have a candid conversation about the fact that when a man is powerful, he has far fewer complaints than when he is not. What you are hearing are complaints from weak and powerless males across the internet, across society, across the world, because they are looking at individuals who have power and they intrinsically understand that there's supposed to be a reflexive reaction that you're supposed to get. And when they're not getting that reaction, they realize there's a problem. Here's the issue with that, though. Nobody can make you powerful. You have to make yourself that. You have to do that for yourself. Well, if you don't have any mentors, you don't have anybody who can teach you, and you're clueless about how to make it work, well, get ready for a lifetime of disrespect, humiliation, and suffering. And eventually that begins to wear on you. It wears down on you. And that's the real problem they have, is this wearing down on them. Did the hoes ever win? Simple question we're asking tonight. Did the hoes ever win? Now, I've spent the better part of the last half hour here presenting my case that they never won, as I always told you. And people can pass around all the memes they want to and put up all the Facebook posts they want to. Those are the losers talking. The hoes never won. You can't find where they won. And it doesn't matter which example you go and take a look at. From the highest to the lowest, there's nothing but losses. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal or Cash App. Thank you very much for your support here on tonight's program. We're going to go ahead and open up the telephone lines. Here now. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933, your personal access code to the program that laid the foundation upon which all of your red pill, MGTOW, high value posers, alpha male frauds, and all these other clowns are going to be stealing everything that they heard here tonight that you're going to be hearing. We are going to be hearing it here live now, and the telephone lines are open so you can go ahead and discuss it with the source. I wanted to go ahead and give you those examples, and I could have been giving examples a whole lot longer. I could have kept going a whole lot longer than I did. I didn't have to stop here. I could have kept going because you all know the names. There comes a case in point in time when the bill comes due for the hose. Whether you're talking about Megan Good, and she was never a chick that I was okay on. I think the guy that she's married to, Devin Franklin, this fella is a devout Christian, and yet take a look at what he married. Kind of reminds me of Russell Wilson. Oh boy, I'm not supposed to say that. Yeah, kind of reminds me of Russell Wilson. And eventually the bill comes due one way or the other. Either you were a fake Christian or you were willing to tolerate her lascivious, look it up. You're willing to tolerate her worldly ways. But eventually something's going to happen. Somebody's back is going to get up against the wall, and somebody is going to have to abandon their principles. Somehow, some way, eventually. Thank you all for joining us here tonight. Be sure to hit the like button here if you're joining us here right now. Go ahead and hit the like so you can show the haters that you are enjoying what you're hearing here. And definitely make sure you share the program. YouTube is going to work very, very hard to suppress this program tonight. You can do your part to stop that. Also, if you're going to call in, you want to go ahead and call in early. People like to call in late and then they get mad when they're not able to speak to us. So go ahead and call in. Make sure that you are prepared and ready. Do not be on your wireless headphones. And most importantly here of all, be prepared to speak. If you are not, be prepared to be dropped. Let's go ahead and take a few phone calls here. Let me get a caller from area code 216. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Jason, how's it going, man? It's Mr. Chris from Cleveland.
All right, Chris from Cleveland. What's on your mind?
Yeah, man. Once again, another outstanding show. I was a gentleman that called in a while back when you had that female on, and I asked her about what substance she has. And once again, man, here's the deal. These females, right, back, because I saw that Mimi porn tape. Wasn't bad. However, nobody said nothing at the time when that dropped, though. And I noticed that some of the guys in the chat room were saying these chicks are lying, talking about thumbs down. Because back then, a lot of them didn't even have a comment or didn't say nothing when that Mimi porn tape came out at that time. What has happened is that there's been a major paradigm shift. And there's been a lot of shows like yourself, and others, I'm not going to bring them up, that have really called out female black feminism BS. I remember when I was on Blog Talk Radio, right around the time that you got on 15 years ago, and I was on this show called All Girl Talk Radio. The scandal that came out about Fantasia, right? And so when the whole Fantasia scandal came out, all the women on that show was talking about, well, she's human and she's a celebrity and she should be treated like this and that and the other. I just had one question for those chicken heads back then. I said, if Fantasia was banging and screwing your man, would you be sitting up here trying to cover for her only because she's a celebrity and she won American Idol? How does that benefit you, and how does that benefit your self-respect? There are two groups of people on this planet that have a hard time with accountability. That's white men and black women. And think about it. when at least when brothers go out and do what they do, they hold themselves accountable. Not to the most part, like, yeah, it is what it is. I did my dirt. Yeah. But sisters don't do that, and then they wonder why. They wonder why they're in a lot of the situations that they're in right now.
Well, I want you all to be clear. I'm not fooled or deceived about, what they really believe or what they really think or where they really fall on it. I know damn well that practically all these females, including the ones in my room here now, they were quiet at the time or they were silently approving of it. It's only because things went badly that all of a sudden you can find anybody saying anything. But there was no. Everybody was proud to say the hoes were winning. It's very easy for you to sit up here and defend the hoes be winning if you want the hoes. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Turn off your speakers, everybody, or I'm going to have to drop your calls. Let me get caller from area code 707. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, how you doing, Jason? My name is Devon, calling from Taunton, Massachusetts.
All right, Devon from Massachusetts, what's on your mind?
Well, I definitely agree with you on the statement that hoes aren't winning. But, that's what society is definitely trying to push, like that image of hoes, like, winning, like they're the ones that are getting all the fame and the fortune, on Instagram, all the likes, it's like they're trying to ruin that image, especially of black women, and they're trying to push that into the black community. That's what I see, they might be winning financially, materialistically, but spiritually, mentally, a lot of them are damaged, what do you think about that, Jason?
Well, certainly damaged, absolutely, is at an epidemic proportion. And like any disease, when it spreads far enough, people forget what it's like to be healthy anymore. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get caller from area code 415. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
How you doing, Jason? It's Marcus calling from San Francisco.
Okay, dude, I don't know what kind of Klingon phone you're calling me from tonight, but it's not sounding very good. If you're on speaker or headphones or something else, you need to take it off.
Oh, sorry, Jason. This is Marcus calling from San Francisco.
Okay, I literally told you all, do not be on speakers or headphones, those wireless headphones, when you call in. And, this brain trust here, I'm certain this will be great. Marcus, what's on your mind?
I'll ask you two quick questions. My first one, I just wanted to know when you said that in order to elevate yourself, the females will be there. My first wife, she didn't want to be there because I was always traveling because, I work in consulting for different businesses, and that requires me to travel a lot. So she got mad that I wasn't there and I wanted to spend a lot of time with her. And my girlfriend I got with after her, the reason why it didn't work out with her is because she, the same thing, they wanted me to spend more time with him, and then they found another guy who spent more time with. The problem is that guy didn't, he had a lot, he didn't have a good job. I want to get your thoughts on that. That was it.
Okay. How old were you?
At the time, I was 32.
And how old was she?
She was 33, and my wife was 33, and my girlfriend was
How many kids? How many kids did they have?
One.
There you go.
I don't understand.
Okay. So
please help me. I just don't get. I don't keep breaking down. I don't.
Okay. How many kids did they have when you met them?
When I first got with them, they each had.
Okay, your Klingon phone is breaking up on you. They might have been upset with you because you couldn't get anything better than a Go phone. You want to try again?
No, I said when I got with them, both of them only had one kid. I don't have any.
Okay, so you got with two single moms, not one but two.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does that tell us about how you were moving and how things were going for you at the time then? What does that tell us?
To be honest with you, I'll be honest, Jason, the sex was just good.
Right, but
okay,
right. But here's the issue, and this is going to sting a little bit. But I want you guys to understand, there's a bunch of you fellas out here who ain't supposed to be getting no sex at all. So what y'all do is you go dumpster diving. But the truth of the matter is, if you were on your game, then you wouldn't have to do that. But you did that because you weren't up to code, so that was the level you were operating at. So what you're going to be dealing with are troublemakers, disciplinary problems, repeat offenders, and it can never turn out well because the past is the best indicator of the future. If she's been sexually reckless, sexually irresponsible, that's not a temporary aberration that's going to go away. That is her character. That's who she is. And she's going to meet you and tell you, oh, none of that matters. And that wasn't really who I was. And the guys did this, that, and the other. That's the same game all of them play. And what they go is they go looking for the sucker who's going to fall for it. That's what they go looking for. And there you were. Just like you have a lot of females out here who grossly overestimate their value, the truth of the matter is you have a whole bunch of fellas out here who grossly overestimate their value. For a lot of these females, they think that, well, as long as I don't have a kid, I'm a 10. Well, you also got some fellas out here who are like, well, as long as I don't have a criminal record and I have a job, I'm a 10. And that's not the way it works. That is not the way it works. Not at all. Let me ask you a question here, brother. How old are you now?
40.
Okay, you're 40 years old now. Let me ask you another question here. So this was 7 years ago that you're referring to. Let me ask you, how tall are you? Be honest.
I'm 5'5".
5'5". 5'5". About how much do you weigh at 5'5"?
I'm 175.
Okay. You see any problems there?
Yeah, I'm kind of big.
Okay, and that's not a new thing, so you probably were heavier in your 30s.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because, understand, Kitten Heel Samuels doesn't like to do this because, he's trying to get his life together too, so never mind. But in any case, the real issue I want you all to understand is it's very easy to point to the females and talk about, oh, they were deficient stuff. Birds of a feather flock together. Birds of a feather flock together. And what I'm saying is that being out in California, it shouldn't be an issue. That really shouldn't be an issue. Being ultra competitive should be, just standard format. But there's a lot of dudes who don't understand this, or they're unwilling to accept that in reality, they ain't up to code. They're not up to code. And the quality of female who is attracted to them is going to be indicative of that. Now, I'm not going to let your height be an issue. Well, Jason, he's only 5'5". Y'all don't sit your ass down. Because productivity speaks for itself. Success speaks for itself. Confidence speaks for itself. Let me ask you, do you feel like your confidence 10 years ago was up to code?
No. No,
Okay.
It wasn't, because I was getting my life together. Now I got it together.
Right.
I was in the process of...
Right. So there's my thing about it is water seeks its own level. So the females that you were dealing with, that was your pay grade. That was the level you were operating at. So what you're doing is you're taking a look at the other guys they got with and like, oh, well, they weren't doing what I'm doing, socioeconomically. Those guys aren't making money like me. Yeah, but here's what you got to understand. Just like a fat female, an unattractive female will sit up here and claim, well, I got a good personality. Okay, but a man doesn't get status from your personality. Your personality certainly helps. Your character is certainly essential, but that doesn't elevate his status. But guess what? Your income alone is not going to elevate hers. If you're a lame with a job, I'm just going to be totally honest. If you are socially awkward, inept, and a lame with a job, just understand she's going to be like, okay, on the one hand, he's got a job. On the other hand, there isn't anything about his personality that I find to be engaging or attractive. There's where the brakes come off. And this is why compensation is so essential. If you're lacking in one area, you need to overcompensate in another. So, if you're 5'5", your dress code has got to be on point. You got to be at the barbershop on a regular basis. You got to make sure that everything else is super tight. You got to make sure everything else is tight. You can be losing the game in other areas, but you can't be deficient across the board. Well, I am gainfully employed, because here's the other thing. Now, what you're doing right now, for example, forget right now. 5 years ago, what were you doing for a living?
I work as a consultant. I consult for different management firms on how to get their nursing homes straight, to pass code for state.
Okay. And about how much you make doing that?
Today I make $170 a year.
Okay, 5 years ago.
Oh, 5 years ago was different. 5 years ago I was making around 60, maybe 80,000.
Okay, that's a hell of a gap from 60 to 160. That's a hell of a gap.
Yeah, I went and got my degree, and I went and got some experience. I was taught by other people. And
he went and got his degree. He got his degree, but he didn't get Verizon. So, like I say, we're still working on that building phase. But here's my point about it. My point about it is, understand, if she's got to live with those circumstances and whatnot, as men, here's the only thing a man needs to be concerned about. A man simply needs to be concerned about looking at himself and saying, is he the best she can do? And that needs to be a holistic analysis. You need to look at her and see, can she do better? Take a look at her whole damn life. Doesn't matter if she's cute. No, okay, you dragging these two kids around and whatnot. All right. Is this the best she can do? And if you are confident that the answer is no, I'm top of the food chain. Okay, there you go. But if you know that's not true, then you have to start balancing it out. Until then, it's no consolation prize to take a look at the other throwed off dudes that she was talking to and be like, oh, well, they're messed up in their own way. She should give me credit for my personality, how nice I am. She should give me credit for that. Because the first thing is, you're dealing with females who don't have good track records of judgment to begin with. They've made repeated bad judgments in their personal lives to begin with, not once or twice, because that's even if they only had one kid, that's the one time that they got pregnant. They were doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff in between. That was just the one they got pregnant by, or should I say the one they carried to term. They might have gotten pregnant more times than that. Usually did. So what I'm saying is, you're dealing with people who have bad character traits, bad personality traits, bad practices. And when you keep gravitating to that, just be honest, well, they're the low-hanging fruit, and I was getting in where I fit in. So, of course, it's not going to be very comfortable. Now, once you start stepping your game up and then being like, okay, I'm somebody who has something to lose, then you start getting a lot more discriminating. But the real issue is, at the time, that was your pay grade. You can be offended by the other guys they were with, but the bottom line is, it's not a one-dimensional aspect. It's not, okay, if my income is straight, everything else is fine. That is not the way it works. Anymore for a female as well. As long as I ain't got any bastard kids, I'm fine. That's not the way it works. Well, as long as my height to weight ratio is good, it doesn't matter what else I do. That's not true. It's not true for the females. It's not one-dimensional for females. It's not one-dimensional for men. So I'm glad you got that taken care of, and hopefully going forward here, you are excelling at such a level that you create the template and the standard that when other people meet you, they respond differently. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. By the way, watch out for any niggas going around out there telling you that the females are the table. I sat here and spent months and months telling you all that the man is the table, and sure enough, yeah, folks are like, Jason, can you believe? Don't tell me again. This nigga's still stealing you. He said the female is the table. Boy, I'm telling you. What the hell are you all telling me you're learning over there? Pickpocketing? Caller from area code 954. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, Jason. It's Kelly calling from Miami.
Kelly from Miami. What's on your mind?
Yes. I don't know if you shed any light on it, but I wanted to see what your take is with Blac Chyna. I always joke with my friends facetiously saying, "Yo, these hoes be winning when it comes to her." But I know personally that she's not going to be winning ultimately. But if you could shed some light on as far as her trajectory, being the fact that she hit this Kardashian guy up, getting monthly child support, and maybe some of these hoes might be looking at her thinking that she's the rule and not the exception.
Okay, let's be very, very clear about a few things about Blac Chyna, all right? Mm-hmm. A woman without a future is a woman without value. Where the hell is she going? A woman's income doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter where the income emanates from. It doesn't matter in the case of Mackenzie Bezos. It doesn't matter in the case of Nicole Young, and it doesn't matter in the case of Blac Chyna, because no man who meets a woman gives a damn about her income. Well, Jason, why are you harping on that? Because the most important decision of the person will ever make, and a woman will ever make, the single most important decision she will ever make is the quality of the man she is with. If she nails that one, everything else falls together. If she habitually screws that up, and by the way, Rob Kardashian was no catch. She basically was trying to marry into a well-to-do family. He's no catch. But if you screw that up, if you can't get that right, nothing else will matter. Her income doesn't matter. Child support checks don't matter. First of all, that's stupid, by the way. Child support checks vary. They could very easily cut Rob out of every damn thing. Then she wouldn't get anything. So child support, that old hustle is dead and gone. That one is dead and gone. She has to get out here and make it on her own, which is why she's sitting up here, running around allegedly, entertaining the company of married men, or at least attempting to. At least that's what his wife is saying. So that shows you the level that she's operating at. Show me, okay, here's the real question you need to ask yourself before anybody attempts to suggest to you that she's winning. Show me the winner who is competing to be with Blac Chyna today. Show them to me. Who is it?
Oh, you're right.
As I said last week, show me the man with resources and the man with ability who is competing for her, because that's the only metric that matters. Do you have men with resources, status, who are competing to be with you? If you do, then that tells us what you're operating at. Without that, you're just a broad with a paycheck. We got plenty of those. It doesn't matter whether you're making 150,000 or 150 million. You ain't none of them making 150 million, but it doesn't matter because there isn't a man to validate your value. Men are already workhorses. That doesn't make you valuable. And a female's ability to be a workhorse doesn't have any value to other females. Therefore, her money is irrelevant. What else you got? And at everything other than income, and even her income is specious. But even if I spot you the income part, what else is she? Tell me any place else where her value has been validated. Because I can show you where it's been invalidated. Show me where it's validated.
Oh, absolutely.
And it isn't.
No, you're right.
Bottom line is it's not validated by anybody anywhere.
Yep.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. No, you can't go back and rewrite the history books retroactively. Doesn't work that way. You can't rewrite it retroactively. Can't rewrite it retroactively. Let me get a call from area code 281. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Prince from Richmond, Texas.
Prince from Richmond. What's on your mind?
Let me ask you a question, Jason, and I know this is going to sound like a contradictory statement. Are hoes coachable? Can women, I don't know, you could say grow out of a hoe phase, or at some point are they just damaged goods, and no matter, just like a Megan Good, no matter who they get with, they just stuck in the way they are?
The short answer is yes. You can't reform a hoe. And the reason for that is because she's set in her ways. You've known her, let's just say that you met her when she was 28 years old. She's been hoeing for a decade now. That wasn't something she just jumped up one day and did. She's going to try to convince you it is. It's lies. She's been doing this for over a decade. She was raised to be that by her mama. So she has been inculcated and indoctrinated into that behavior her whole life. You think you're going to be able to reverse that in a couple of years or even a decade? No. And by the time you meet her, she's set in her ways. Understand something. The problem with being a hoe is that it rubs your emotional nerves raw as a female. It makes you emotionally calloused. that is the only thing that really keeps a female grounded, is her ability to be able to do that. And if she lacks the ability to stay emotionally grounded in her femininity, because remember, that's what counterbalances a man. We're the logic, they're the emotion. But if she is emotionally imbalanced because her emotional state has been rubbed raw, because you have to desensitize yourself to be able to take all these random men over the years laying on top of you or doing whatever else they were doing to you. Let's be very, very clear about something here, folks. Sex is a completely different act for females than it is for men. Completely different. A female has to be penetrated. A female has to submit. We're talking about on a physical level and a psychological level. A female engages in the sex act in a totally different way than a man does. And then when you take into account that most females want to have sex with a guy who is bigger and stronger than they are, just understand, now you're talking about a potentially dangerous situation. And I'm not saying that every man's trying to be dangerous. What I am saying, though, is that just understand that is a factor in the equation that she has to overcome and deal with to even engage in this. So for her to repeatedly go through that situation, that cycle over and over again, eventually she gets rubbed raw. And now she just is desensitized from it, which she has to be, because you're not supposed to want people penetrating you all the time. You're not supposed to want to be submitting to a bunch of people. You're supposed to be wanting to do that once or twice and then check out the game. When you've gone through dozens of people doing that, you're not going to be the same. Some fundamental parts of you are going to be ripped off and torn off and left behind. So you can't reform a hoe. What you can do is, if you got a position where they can operate, okay. But you have got to understand you need somebody. If you're looking for a wife, you need a chick who's got 5 credentials. A hoe is only going to have 1, maybe 2 if you're lucky. But you can't reform them. You can't rehabilitate them. You have to accept them as what they are. And the best that you are going to get is following instructions. That's the best you're going to get. And just go in the door knowing, and that's going to have a very limited ability because she's used to losing. Let's be very, very clear. Hoes are used to losing. You have to be, because that's what it means to be cycled through. Being cycled through means that the men come and the men go. Can you prepare yourself to have a guy sit up here and get all the best of you, every body part of you, and then you're just going to be left behind like yesterday's laundry? Psychologically, that does something to you. In order for you to be able to ignore that, you're going to have to leave a key part of your feminine humanity behind you. That's not a minor thing. That's a huge problem. A man can't use a woman who is devoid of her feminine humanity. He can't use you. There's nothing there for him. He doesn't want that trying to nurture his children. Damn sure can't use that trying to, trying to comfort him. You're incapable of it. So what you've got is this female-like being. They look female, but they are emotionally incapable of performing the essentials that you need from a female. So, brother, you can't do anything with a hoe except let a hoe be a hoe. That's it. Oh, did I say that? Never mind. Silly Willy. But my point is, like I say, definitely you want to look, for every female you meet, there needs to be an agenda. You should, and especially at our age, brother, we shouldn't be talking to a single female without an agenda. We're supposed to know exactly, if she's in our face, we're supposed to know exactly why she's here. And the sooner you get to that point in life, the better. If you can get there in your 20s, that's fantastic. Most of us never will. But if you definitely need to be there in your 30s. By the time you're in your 40s, you shouldn't be giving the female the time of day unless there's a concrete agenda. And there's an agenda for hoes too, as a matter of fact. You know, it depends on who you are. There might be an agenda you can plug her into. If you have a position for that, or if you have a need for that or something, well, then go ahead and do that. But otherwise, brother, there's nothing you can do. Is once they get, especially, I don't think there's anything you can do with them as teenagers. Once they enter the hoe, brother, once they enter the hoe zone, especially today in this age of Instagram and TikTok and Maury Povich, brother, once they enter the hoe zone, they're ruined. We need to stop playing with ourselves about this. Once they enter the hoe zone, they are ruined. Once they done let Phi Beta Kappa run through them, they're ruined, man. They're ruined. We need to quit playing with ourselves that's not going to happen. They're ruined. They're destroyed.
Jason, what about? Oh yeah, go ahead. What about these? I was thinking about the young women, just what you were saying, and you got there before I even was able to say anything. What about the young women taking these classes to be more feminine, to be more ladylike, to be with older women who have values, because when we were growing up, there were a lot of women. I had mother, grandmother, great-grandmother who cooked, who served men, who took care of their families. And this is a different generation. Can they go? Can they be coached into classes? Because as a man, we can only say so much to them. They're going to need some type of modeling from women, and there's not many options for them to learn from women out here. Can they take classes? What would you suggest?
I mean, someone would have to find a class for it. Back in the day, you used to have something called finishing school, but and manners schools. We don't really have those anymore. You don't really have a pedigree for that anymore. But there was a reason why those institutions existed. They made sure that even if the mothers and fathers in these upper class families were clueless, that there was someone who did understand and walked them through that process. So right now, brother, we don't have that. So if you find it, let me know. But brothers and sisters, don't bring me any more wife schools. Don't say anything. These clowns on the internet talking about wife schools. If y'all don't sit the hell down, I need you to have all these seats. The airplane seat, handicap wheelchair, folding lawn chair. Have all these seats. Forget about it. Forget about it. This is they all need to be on Spencer Cornelius' channel. This is just a bunch of scam work going on here because they don't know. They don't know. Listen to me, people. I cannot say this to you in any clearer terms. The females today don't have anything they can learn from these females on the internet. They don't.
Wow.
These chicks don't have anything they can teach you. Some of them know how to rant. Some of them know how to rave. It's not enough to be able to talk about, okay, what they're doing wrong. These chicks don't know what to tell you to do. They don't. Unfortunately, most of the guys don't have any idea either. But there's nothing I have any confidence in. These females don't have any game. They don't have anything to teach. They don't. So you can sit and listen to them, but you're going to come out of it the way you went in, with the sole exception of, well, you know, everybody keeps saying the same crap. Well, keep your body count down. Okay. And so you see what I was talking about before. As long as I ain't a baby mama, I'm a 10. No, not really. So what we would actually need is a complete infrastructure. And we don't have that.
Okay.
You know, I was talking about this before. We were talking about Ray Rice and the NFL and whatnot. When you have an infrastructure in place, you have the players in the NFL, sure, but you also have the wives in the NFL. It's like, wait a minute, we're a part of an elite institution. We're a part of an elite group, an elite fraternity. The men and the women. There's a role and a function. You don't just get to walk in the door and you get to be one of us. You don't get to just marry somebody and get to be one of us. You got to go through steps to do that. And that's what we're missing. That's what we're missing. The best you can do at this point, brother, is look for someone who has it together themselves, but that would have to be rebuilt because the last 60 years have been spent have been spent dismantling that in society in general. It's been spent dismantling that. So it would have to be rebuilt.
Oh, thank you, Jason.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 210. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Greetings, Jason Black. This is Mental Agility calling from Lake Ridge, Virginia.
Mental Agility from Lake Ridge. What's on your mind?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be one of the guys just gonna push back. I'm gonna say hoes are winning, but only in the premise of hoes are winning their own mind. Now, hear me out. This is what I'm talking about. I'm going to go from the bottom and I'm going to bring it to the top as far as the levels because, you know, you got your celebrities and then you got your local people, right? So when we talking about your local regular people, we live in a hot economy right now. So that means that these females, they can go get the instant gratification. They can go on to OnlyFans. They can bust it open and they can make like 3,000 or 4,000. Now, I know it ain't everybody that's doing that, but the impression is reality to these females. Now, as far as they have the political influence, they have the social influence, and they have economic influence. Also, with these females on the low level, basically, majority of black women.
Okay, let me find out here. Right? Let me find out here because my program's not really an open forum here. Did you have a question you wanted to ask?
No, you asked me what was on my mind, so I was just putting it out there.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here. Folks, we're not here to monologue. I know some of y'all are like, hey, Jason, I wish I could host a program. That's cute and everything. Yeah, we're not here to monologue. So if you want to ask a question or something, you can do that. But this isn't opening up the phone line so you can avail everyone to your epic wisdom. Let me get called from area code 305. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
AJ from Honolulu.
Jay from Honolulu. What's on your mind?
Yeah, so I'm curious. I completely agree with you. Hoes do not win. But where would you place somebody like Brittany Renner who caught somebody like TJ Washington slipping? And the second question I have you written any books that we can purchase?
I get asked about books all the time. Maybe one day. I don't know. Maybe one day. I would have to have time to do that because I just don't have time to do that a lot of the time. But definitely, as far as Brittany is concerned, and let's just be very, very clear, there's a lot of misnomers about Brittany, okay? Brittany did not win. Brittany is a screwed up mulatto. Brittany is a whacked out, crazy light-skinned chick, and I've warned you all for over a decade about the light-skinned chicks. She is Exhibit A. But let's be very clear, Brittany is not a winner. Brittany has never been a winner. Take a look, not in Brittany's rear view mirror. Take a look out Brittany's front window. Take a look out the windshield. And you tell me, what do you see? Do you see a bright future? Do you see men who are lined up to ally with her? Do you see another man of status and resources who is willing to go throw himself into that meat grinder? You see, you might have been able to get over on this young dumbass punk. You might have been able to get over on him. But the problem is, first of all, take a look at her age. Imagine that you are done. You are finished, fried and filleted, done at 29 years old. 29. There's not gonna be another producer. Brother, you tell me who's gonna step up to be the baby daddy here. You show me who's gonna step up to be the Russell Wilson in this equation. Who's going to do that? Who is? She couldn't get PJ to even marry her. Now she doesn't need a dude for child support. She needs a husband, which is what she really, when the baby was dropped, and we played that thing before, when she said stepdaddy seasons, she realized, oh hell, I need a man who gonna be here. I need somebody to commit to me, not to commit to sex, not to commit to Instagram. I need a man to commit to me, Brittany Renner. That's what I need. And what she realizes now is, brother, ain't nobody gonna do that. No one's gonna do that. The train has left the station, derailed, crashed, and burned. It's over. So I hope you enjoyed them little pennies that you set up here and ripped off a PJ, because there won't be another one. That's it. 29 years old and trying to figure out what is she going to do after 40, because you and I both know how this game goes. We met her on Instagram. The only thing she can do now is go to OnlyFans. That's the only thing she could do. No, unless, by the way, you all never heard anybody say that before. By the way, mark my words. Next stop, OnlyFans, because there isn't anything else. There isn't a producer who is going to risk everything to take this off the market after she's already bared her fangs and showed her teeth. That's not going to happen. Ladies, the most disastrous thing you can do is show a man that you got fangs and teeth and claws. Once you do that, just understand, if he's a fool, if he's a fool for you, he will leave himself vulnerable. But most men want to survive. So at that point, it's like, okay, you got fangs and claws. Every man she meets from here on in, his priority is going to be protecting himself from her. So it used to be that you saw Colin Kaepernick and Drake or whatever, and you're like, okay, what was it about them? What did they see in you that none of them wanted to touch you after that? Now the whole world is seeing it. It used to be you had to meet her to find out what it was. Now everybody sees what it is. They see you coming now. Brother, they see her coming. 29 years old, and we see you coming now. Everybody knows the deal coming in the door. 29 years old and we see you coming. The question isn't, could you rip off PJ Washington at 28 or 29? The question is, can you get somebody to commit to you at 33, 34? Where do you go from here? Or is it all downhill from here? And you already know the answer to that one.
I sure do. Sure do. Hey, thank you, Jason, man. I really do hope you decide to write something. I know you're busy, but reading something from you would be a blessing, man. Thank you so much for taking my call. Have a good night.
Thank you for giving us a call here tonight. Who knows? Might put out an edition of the Black Book one day. Let me get called from area code 682. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Jason. My name is Duke. I'm from Chicago, Illinois.
Duke from Chicago. What's on your mind?
I had a question for you. I subscribe to Patreon, and I had a real quick question for you. I know it's a lot of guys that's older than me. I'm in my 30s, by the way. They always talk about, the women from back in the day. I guess my mom and grandma generation, right? And growing up, I always noticed that the older women would tell women in my generation that basically you don't need a man, don't depend on a guy. They preach their independence, and I've always got a sense that there's a lot of bitterness from if you listen to how it was back in the day, that women couldn't work and they had to depend on a man. And I wanted to get your insight on that because I feel like that kind of pushed, I guess, what you would call it the whole culture. Basically, I can do what I want to with my body. I don't have to worry about having a husband. Hopefully that makes sense.
Okay, I'm not understanding what exactly is your question.
Well, the question is basically, I guess, what's the difference between now and then, like for my grandparents' generation and I'm not gonna say my parents, was that basically the whole culture was more hidden, and now it's more out there in your face. In your opinion?
Well, about the time you had the civil rights movement, the dominant societies decided to also start promoting other things. So along with that comes the sexual revolution, the drug movement. You start seeing a lot of that. So you start seeing Timothy Leary, and you can go look those up if you want to there. So you start seeing a lot of these the rise of this counterculture really as an attempt to destabilize the civil rights movement, quite frankly. So priority number one became, you have a social movement that is elevating black people. How can you destabilize it from within? Well, get them focused on sex, drugs, anything except elevating themselves. And oh yeah, if you're going to win any war, you better fund it. So next thing you know is like, hey, black women, would you like some free money in order to rebel against black men? And you had enough.
Okay.
You had enough, not most by any stretch of the imagination, but at the time you had enough malcontents, cast-offs, and enough of them with that traitorous mindset that they were willing to buy in. And they understood, the government understood that we just need enough of them because Daniel Patrick one hand, the rest of them, they already knew the numbers. We're going to start with one. She's going to have 4 kids. Those 4 are going to have 4 or 5. Within 2 generations, we'll have overrun them. And that's exactly what you've seen happen. Now, it accomplished that one thing. So you went from in one generation, you went from Claire Huxtable, you're going downhill from Claire Huxtable to Nicki Minaj in that regard. So the females of your mother's generation and grandmother's generation, just understand, a bunch of them had a mouth on them, but they were smart enough to understand what was real and what was practical and what wasn't. Once they had the federal government acting as an insurance policy, and the man was removed from the equation, recklessness all of a sudden became something that they could engage in because they had an insurance policy. As men, we didn't do that, and we don't do that because there is no insurance policy. We go have some bastard kids, we get put on child support, and can even get put in jail if you don't pay it. The females can be the ones having the bastard kids, and yet nobody is threatening to lock them up if they can't provide financially. Now, you'll get locked up if you can't provide financially, but she won't get locked up if she doesn't. Understand, it's a scam the whole way around. But just understand they were willing to buy into it. And last but not least,
that's true.
I would be remiss if I did not mention the males of the civil rights generation. Gotta throw them in there. The baby boomer males were the most spoiled, rotten, hedonistic, egotistical bastards you would ever meet. which is why we can't get them to do anything today. They were worthless then. They're just old and worthless now. So you add those two factors together, and that's how you got here. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Definitely just understand we didn't get here by accident. We didn't get here by accident. Not at all. It was engineered and gene-engineered, but you didn't get here accidentally. The real question now is, what do you do about it? Let me get called from area code 469. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's going on? It's your boy Keith. I'm calling from Dallas, Texas, my man.
Keith from Dallas, Texas. What's on your mind?
Roger that, man. I was in your chat, man, and I actually had a thought. So I hear guys talking about how sex with many partners for women are impacting their ability to bond with new men, correct? I also had a thought, because that comes from, I believe, is the depletion of their oxytocin levels. And I actually think there's a direct correlation between women's rise in sexual partners and women's abuse on children. And also the rise in postpartum depression, because they're having so many sexual partners, they don't have enough oxytocin left in their system in order to bond with their children either.
Well, I mean, we can go looking off at chemistry if we want to, and physiology if we want to, but the bottom line is, psychologically, if you just keep getting rubbed raw all the time, something that is supposed to only be touched every once in a while by a specific person, if we just keep running you through that, then eventually you're going to just get stripped of your ability to adhere to anything. And at that point, you are useless to any man to invest in for more than 30 minutes.
I mean, what I'm saying is, it's so bad that at the very core, a mother is supposed to be bonded to her children. She's so destroyed, she can't even bond with her children.
Well,
that's how bad it is. So the guy asking before about,
remember, a family, let's be clear. A family begins with a man and a woman. A family begins with a man and a woman, not a woman and children. Most of society's gotten this screwed up at this point. If you cannot be a good partner to the man who would be the father of the children, who would be that which conceives the children with you, if you can't be a good match to him, we would be insane to believe that you have any capability of taking care of a helpless infant. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Now, let me get a call from area code 203. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Thank you, Jason, for taking the call. This is Monty from Fairfield, Connecticut.
Monty from Fairfield, Connecticut. What's on your mind?
Great broadcast, and I think this is just where we're at. 3 statements. You can't turn a hoe into a housewife. That's number one. Being a little bit older, learning how, the game goes and being part of the pimp hoe game, and that these women, the hoes aren't winning, but they put it out there that they are winning to make it appealing because it's a matriarch that they want. And that nowadays, a question I wanted to make was, is prostitution what makes it appealing to them to be a hoe? Because I think a lot of these females now understand that prostitution is the second oldest profession.
Well,
would that be an accurate statement?
Well, the oldest profession is farming, but in any case, definitely look, as far as that's concerned, females use sex because it works. They use sex because it's effective. They use sex because they don't have the physical strength that men do. So you live in a world that is governed by physical laws. You live in a world where you inhabit it with other beings. So physicality is going to be an inherent part of life and survival. Since you cannot do what men do, then you cannot interact in the world or in society the way that men do. You can't impose your will the way that men can. Even if men don't do it, they can do it. Let me say that again. Even if men don't impose their will, the problem is they can impose it. So what do you do when you've got 50% less muscle mass than this guy you have standing next to you? You and he are the same height, but he's got 50% more muscle mass, 50% more muscle, more bone density. What do? So in that case, you have to resort to a different set of tools. Women rely on it because men respond to it. So over time, they have intrinsically understood, well, this is something that if I can tune it correctly, then I can get what I want out of it. Now, what's happened is since industrialization, basically so many of their basic needs have been provided for them that they have completely grown out of touch with what they quote unquote need. So they instead start the wrong way and start valuing quote companionship. And then next thing you know, then they start looking for, oh, is he a protector and provider? Does he have those character traits that we'll see about my physical survival as opposed to my emotional indulgences? We've told them that they can indulge themselves emotionally first and then figure out if he's a protector and provider whenever. And even if he isn't, don't worry, you can take care of that. The problem is that never works, and it can never work because a female will never feel secure with a man that she feels she's stronger than him. So that thing before that bothered her, that I was just mentioning there before, that even if a man doesn't impose his physical will, he can. But what if you're with a guy who you know won't do it? And there are many different ways in which a female actually expects a man to impose his physical will. It isn't always necessarily as defending you from some physical threat. It is a work ethic. It is perseverance. It is if he cuts himself working on the car, does he come back in the house crying at you? Is he sitting here worried about his footwear more than you? A female might smile. Hell, they might even gravitate to a guy who, oh, he's swagged out, look at his footwear, but she's eventually going to be like, you know what? You're more of a girl than I am if he keeps that up. So just understand,
I'm glad
when that kind of thing happens, that's a matter of winning something that you didn't even want to ask for. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 979. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Peace, Jason. What's going on? This is Mondo calling from the Gulf by way of Lafayette, Louisiana.
Mondo from Lafayette. What's on your mind?
Really, I had a question for you. You know, the way you lay these things out, man, is superb. You know, you make it plain and simple for men. You know, we gotta be logical creatures, and the way you lay it out for us is compete or die. And you know, with the women being you know, emotionally driven and stuff like that, what is it about the thinking process, you know, where, like, when I was young, I remember coming up and seeing on TV, hoes was getting murdered left and right. You know, you had Anna Nicole Smith, you had O.J. Simpson's wife, and I mean, still to this day, you got the thing with the Instagram models getting killed. Just a couple of years ago, you know, me in Louisiana.
Okay, because we're on YouTube, we'll not discuss that at length, because remember, that's the kind of thing that gets flagged by the algorithm. So calm down, brother. You sound like you're auditioning for an episode of ID Discovery. What I will tell you is that the problem is attention has monetary value to females today. And by that, I mean attention is as valuable as money. In many ways, it's more valuable than money. It's because attention to them constitutes status. It used to be a celebrity, you had to be hooked into the Hollywood machine. Today, you can have an Instagram account and you have relative celebrity. Well, what do I mean by that? If you're a girl, a female, and you didn't get any attention from boys back in school, and you know damn well you didn't. You didn't get any attention from boys back in school, and next thing you know, you pull up a Facebook and you pull up a raggedy ass picture of you smiling at the camera, and next thing you know, you got 50 likes. She just got more positive confirmation in 5 minutes than she has received in her entire life. That has practically incalculable value to her. She went from being the chicken class that people were ignoring to automatically just that quick, bam, 50 people are validating her. God help you if it's 100. Because as far as we're concerned, her head is going to swell to such proportions that you would have to use axle grease to grease down the door jambs to get her into her own house. That's how bad it is. So that's where you are today. It's become its own version of, it's got a value that rivals money. Now that you understand that, then you understand how much would they sacrifice for that? How much would you be willing to give up or risk for something that is equally valuable or more valuable than money? Well, take a look at all the chicks who are dying from all these botched booty implants because the girls figure it'll get you attention. Yeah, it'll get you attention, but you can't afford it. Well, let me go do it anyway. Knowing they're like, okay, there's a 50-50 chance I could die. I'll roll the dice. That tells you just how valuable that attention is.
Not to cut you off, but
thank you very much for giving us a call. You won't cut me off. Let me get caller from area code 803. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, this Reese calling from Columbia, South Carolina.
Reese from Columbia, South Carolina. What's on your mind?
Yeah, in regards to the title right there, man, all hoes winning. Well, the sad truth is, in a lot of cases, yeah.
How are they winning? Give me a specific example of how they are winning.
Look at Blac Chyna.
Show me where we already discussed her before, but we'll do it again. Show me where Blac Chyna is winning.
Well, she got of course, you probably don't know. You know what happened. Go ahead and redirect what happened.
Let's try again, second time, and then I got to move on. Explain to me specifically where Blac Chyna is winning.
Well, for one, to make a long story short, she had, as you know, Black Rob, her knight in shining idiot, pretty much wiped her up. And now she's pretty much got his child support.
Black Rob. I think Black Rob is deceased. I think you're referring to Rob.
Whatever his name is.
Yeah, Black Rob with Bad Boy Records is deceased, sir. Whoa. I think you're referring to Rob Kardashian. Okay. Him and his paper mache phone are not making it, but like I say, she didn't get married to him, and she's in court now trying to hold on to whatever tenuous connection to him she can. So some of y'all need to gain a definition of winning. Let me get a caller from country code 442. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
I'm William. Hello?
Where are you calling from, William?
Oh, sorry, William from London.
William from London, what's on your mind?
You know what, Jason, I have to agree with you. The same thing is actually happening over here. I mean, a lot of the culture that comes from the United States ends up in the UK, and it's elaborated on a wider scale. And it's a case of the whole culture is absolutely rife, especially the part of England I'm from, and that's in London, where literally it's becoming out of control. You've got guys who are actually trying to shift through the chaff and the wheat, trying to actually find a wife, or you make yourself into a peak value man, or aim towards becoming a peak value man, and all you're seeing is all this hoe culture. So I understand when you're saying that hoe culture, they're not actually winning, but sometimes it feels like they are, because you touched on a number of points earlier where you were saying that there's no one to hand down the knowledge, because I've heard in earlier programs that I listened to where the grandma's actually in the clubs and the mums are in the clubs and the mums actually having children, and before you know it, the generations is handing down this whole culture. So when you come across a man that's aspiring to become peak value, all you're picking through is rubbish. So you may get the opportunity to say, okay, you might see some form of potential in this whole culture epidemic that's going on. Let's see if you can get her and try and clean her up or try and do something. But it seems as though that it seems like it's a never-ending cycle, and it's getting worse and worse every year. The desperation is getting worse.
Well, definitely as men, here's the key element today. How old are you?
I'm 35.
Okay. It is very, very important that you understand that as men, we observe these things, and it is our lot in life. It is our burden, if you will, that we have to take responsibility when those things occur. Every threat isn't a physical one. There's a reason why we as men are more logical. There's a reason for that. It's not just that we are physically more linear. We are mentally and emotionally more linear. And what that means is that the threats that we're used to dealing with are not always physical. There are psychological threats, societal threats, systemic threats, social threats, emotional threats. And we have to be prepared to deal with all of those. What you're looking at now is a social and mental threat. So the real question is, how do you deal with that? The real question is, how do you deal with that? So as men, that's what we're in the process of now. The civil rights generation didn't deal with that. That is our job to deal with that. It's our job to take a look at it and to deal with that ourselves. So keep in mind, the burden of our generation and the task of our generation is that we have to deal with those things. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get called from area code 561. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Chance from Loxahatchee calling by way of Petersburg, Indiana.
Okay, Chance from Loxahatchee, what's on your mind?
Hey, yeah, I just want to say this is a really good program. I love hearing this tonight. And also I have a question. Where can we access your dark arts of the game? Is that on your Patreon?
Yes, that's on Patreon. So definitely, if you're not a member of the Patreon, you definitely want to join that. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get called from area code 832. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Phil out of Houston. How's it going, man?
Phil out of Houston. What's on your mind?
I just want to tell you, you're giving some amazing advice when you're telling girls they need to become nurses. I work in healthcare. I work in the legal side of healthcare. And right now, man, they're just printing money for nurses. When I tell you, I mean, they are printing cash for girls that for registered nurses. Not CNAs, not LVNs, but RNs. So, like, you got to have it's called the test you have to take is called the NCLEX. If you can pass the NCLEX right now, I know a group of girls that just came through the hiring.
First of all, before I go any further, I want to say thank you very much for validating that, because there are a lot of people out here who are not valuable sources of information, and that's good to have that. But we're not talking about that right now. What I want you to do is give me a call on my Patreon, okay? And if you're not a member of Patreon, you need to join that so that you can join us for that discussion there. But I want to keep things focused on what we're talking about here now. But thank you for validating to the people that they have reached the source. And yes, I stand by everything I say. So if you want to hear people faking it being high value, light your incense and your candles and tell the fellas to shave their legs. If you want to become high value, you got to come talk to the real thing. Let me get called from area code 646. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My brother, Mr. Jason. How you doing, my brother? This is Quan from Baltimore, Maryland.
Quan from Baltimore. What's on your mind?
Man, let me tell you this right here. I got these two girls on my job right now, right? And I hate to say it like this, but this is what they call themselves. They call themselves bad bitches, right? Now, they are an aunt and a niece on my job, but the age difference is only 3 years apart, right? I ain't got no problem with that. But they call themselves bad bitches. But yeah, they saying they out here winning, they doing this. They wear their regular club, they clothes that they wear to the club, they wear that to work. They wear that to work. They wear their best outfits to work. My man. So none of them drive. The aunt has her own crib, right? But she got 7 family members living with her. You can't even have company come over there because you got so many people in the house that you can't have no privacy. But yet they call themselves bad bitches every day. I don't understand. Well, I understand it. And me and my man on the job, we just look at them every day and laugh.
As far as understanding it or not understanding it, Here's the real issue. If you want to figure out whether or not hoes know they're losing or not, it's real simple. Who is the man who is investing in them, and what is the quality of that man? Because that is what determines the quality of a female. So if she wants to claim she's a baddie or a bad broad, there's no such thing as a single baddie. If no man of value and resources is claiming you, you ain't a baddie, you just bad. So what is the value of man claiming them? Give me the short 5-second version. Is there a man of value who is claiming them?
The aunt, her man sells smoke, and he don't even bring her lunch.
He sells smoke?
He sells smoke. You know what I mean.
Okay.
But he won't even bring her lunch. These two girls who supposed to be some baddies is hungry.
How old is she?
Every day,
Well,
not
okay.
eating lunch.
How old is she?
The aunt is about 28 and the niece is about 24.
And how many kids does the aunt have?
That's the only good thing. They have none. That's the only good thing about it.
Well, all the abortions probably wreck their insides, so it's kind of hard to tell at this point here. But hopefully it can keep it that way, because just like throughout the majority of history, most males did not pass on their genes. The majority of history. Unfortunately, the world has been so domesticated that it has allowed individuals who ordinarily their bloodlines would have died out. The dumb, the irresponsible, the foolish, the promiscuous, individuals with negative character traits. Ordinarily, nature would have filtered them out. Through natural selection, it would have filtered them out and gotten rid of them. Now we've created a society that is so overly safe, so overly sanitized, that it has allowed individuals who are detrimental to the society, who would have been filtered out previously, now it's allowed them to spawn at an outrageous rate, which is where we're at now. So fortunately in their case, but unfortunately anybody who's been to Baltimore can see, usually it doesn't turn out like that. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 682. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, hello. I'm calling from South Carolina.
What is your name?
Raheem Holman.
Raheem, from where at in South Carolina?
South Myrtle Beach. Yes, I actually talked to you like a few months back. I was living in Texas. And I just had some information. I called to ask about some information for like relationships, and I just wanted to say thank you for this podcast or whatever. But back then I was dealing with two girls because I was single for like 5 years, and one was like 28, and the other was like 53. The 53-year-old, it was like wine and Japanese food, and I was in there. The 28-year-old, I had to like prove to myself. You know what I'm saying? She had to get on my program, to be more specific. But she came in and cleaned clothes, cleaned the house, and all this and the third. But I was just curious because the 28-year-old seemed expensive, and the 53-year-old one, even though she had 5 kids, was cheap, dog cheap. And I was in there, all type of freaky stuff. But like that, like I talked to you. I remember I was a technician who told you I earned $150,000 plus, like 3 years in a row, working on trucks, and I was relocated to Myrtle Beach because I wanted to get into the box trucks and real estate.
Yes,
so I'm doing all my real estate.
Yes, I remember. We're a little short on time, so give me the Reader's Digest version here. How did that turn out?
Well, I'm still working on it. I'll call you back in 6 months, like you recommend. My bad. I'm getting the brokers. I'm getting the pre-license. I'm getting the advance. I said I wanted to get into box trucks or real estate, but I've been a technician for the last 10 years. Making good money, but I just wanted to call. Thank you, because obviously the 53-year-old was just. I don't want to call her out her name because she's a mother, but
well, here's the real thing. Here's the real thing.
I listened to that podcast.
Slow down. Here's the real thing. I want you all to understand here. Black males in America have been forced in many cases into a powerless position. And that's generational. It's engineered, but it's also been generational. And as a result, it can become very difficult to distinguish between your powerless position and where you're supposed to be. So as a result, what they tend to do, black men, what we tend to do is we tend to start trying to project power, because as men, that's what we have to do. And the lowest form of projection is sexual power. When you start talking about biological processes, that's the lowest form. It's the most basic form. You would never call spitting power, although spitting has the power to offend people. There are all kinds of biological, bodily processes you could do that have power, but it's all meager and irrelevant. You'll start seeing life differently and experiencing it differently when sex takes a back seat. That doesn't mean that you become, asexual. It doesn't mean that, you become unconcerned. It just when we become disciplined about it. When you can take a look at your life and that aspect of it doesn't occupy a priority. And that can be hard. When you take a look at your grandfather, your fathers, you have these communities where, the fellas haven't really built anything. So it really becomes about, okay, well, at least I got power where the females are concerned. At least they're validating me. And that's supposed to be a side effect of it. So in your case, when you got a 53-year-old around here, and how old are you?
I told her I was 34. She's not here now because I'm in Myrtle Beach. She was in Texas. I was
down.
living in Texas. I relocated to Myrtle Beach.
Slow down.
I'm sorry.
Brother,
my
slow down. He's very excited. Slow down. Here's the issue here, okay?
My bad.
I was doing that way before you ever came along. So I know what it's like to be a fella in his 20s with girlfriends in their 40s and older. I know what that's like. And it has a bit of a novelty then because you're allegedly hitting above your pay grade. No, I wasn't with a bunch of broke chicks either like that. But you're allegedly hitting above your pay grade. Here's the problem. The problem is, just like a woman's value is determined by the quality of man she has, inversely, we're going to be able to tell everything about you by the quality of the female that there is. And that is why, psychologically, for yourself, and I'm talking to every male listening to me right now, psychologically, for yourself, every chick ain't a win. I don't care what she looks like. I don't care what she sounds like. Every chick ain't a win. The quality of the female for us is essential. The quality is essential because we are the producers. We only have a limited number of minutes in the day to produce. And everything around us needs to feed into that. It needs to enhance that. It needs to improve that. It needs to. Not it should. It must. Or it's got to be gone. And when you have an older female, the first thing you have to ask yourself is, all right, how much of a return on this investment am I getting? That's the first thing we must ask. We absolutely must ask that, because that is what will differentiate between whether or not there's actually an agenda or whether or not this is just a preoccupation. And that's a deadly thing for us to get into, because that's like having a video game habit. We can get preoccupied. No, this is an amusement. And next thing you know, you've wasted years. You've wasted years. There's where the problem comes from. It's going to be very, very difficult for a 35-year-old to have an agenda for a 53-year-old female. What in the world? Unless she, does IT or something. What for you? What? In your case, unless she could help fix on trucks for you. What is the agenda? I want you to think about that for a few moments. And everybody here listening, for a 35-year-old, you with a 53-year-old female, what's the agenda? She can sire you no children. She can bear you no sons. Her peak value is behind her, not in front of her. So what exactly is it that she's there to offer? A 35-year-old who has just begun his ascension. You've just begun your ascendancy. What does a 53-year-old have to offer someone who's on the decline? What does she have to offer someone who has just started to hit his peak?
And I get that. That's why I picked a 28-year-old to move here to Myrtle Beach with me. I bought a condo for like a year. I paid in advance because I had the money. And I get that. And like you made a podcast about like our old females worth it. And I wrote down the pros and cons to that one. And the main thing was that she was just cheap. I'm not being mean, but she was cheap. It was like I said, like wine and Chinese food. I was in there. The other one, she wanted to experience things and do things, but in return, she washed my clothes, she cleaned the laundry, she cleaned my house, my 5-bedroom house I had in Texas that I got rid of and moved here. She did all that to get my attention. But the other one was just easy and cheap, to be honest. And like I told you, I lost my dad. And the one thing my dad told me was, because I grew up with a mother and father, he told me, the one thing you got to learn is females are very expensive, so pick wisely. And I called you in a podcast, or a live stream, like 3 months ago to try to ask you about that, because you're extremely intelligent. You know what I'm saying? So that's why.
Certainly, I'm not going to tell anybody what to do with their spare time necessarily. I want it to be productive here, and it's all right for you to cool out with someone for a little while if you want to. That's okay. The only thing I don't want somebody to do is to get into a situation where it becomes a quagmire, where they get bogged down, where your life is stopped progressing. Because it's one thing to stop at a place and cool out for a little bit. It's another thing to start investing in the cool out spot, because you're supposed to do that when you've arrived at your destination. But if this female is not your destination, then your investment needs to be limited. So if she's 53 years old and cheap, that's good. What you're saying is limited amount of investment. That's good too. But that limited amount should also extend to the time. Your most valuable commodity is time. You can get more money. What you cannot do is get another 35 years. You're 35 years old. There's nothing you can do so you can repeat your 35th year alive. You can always get more money, but you can't get those 365 days back. So of all the things you're going to invest in, guard your time. Be very careful with your time. And as you get older, you're supposed to be more selfish and more jealously guarding of your time. So in this case here, you say you got a 28-year-old. So in other words, this is somebody who still has some upside potential as far as that's concerned. As long as she gets with the program, she's coachable, you know the drill. That might be something to go with. As far as the 53-year-old, like I say, just understand these are lessons for you to understand as well, because you can only figure out so much from what I tell you. And I don't want you all going around learning from your experiences necessarily. Listen to what these us older cats had to tell you, because we're not lying to you. But now that you've experienced yourself, you can be an evangelist for that as well, to let these fellows who are 25 and 26 years old, who may be similarly not understanding how they may be squandering their time, now they got something they can learn from you in that regard. So the more men out here who understand this and know this and can disseminate that, the easier and better that is. Definitely give me a call on Patreon. I want to hear more about that. Thank you for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a caller from area code 443. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, how you doing? This is Clay calling from Greensboro, North Carolina.
Clay from Greensboro. What's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing? I'm currently in the military right now, and I'm looking at getting out and getting like a trade. I'm really looking into either IT or getting my CDL, and I'm leaning more towards getting my CDL. But I'm just wondering, would you recommend that for a single dad? Let me say.
Sure, absolutely. You need to do everything you can to enhance your value. So I think that'd be a great idea.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a call from area code 407. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, you're on live. What is your name?
Hi.
Where are you calling from?
Sorry. Sorry, my name is Misha. I'm calling from Florida.
Misha,
Hi, I just wanted to
Misha from where at in Florida?
Orlando, Florida.
Misha from Orlando. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to understand why you don't think that those kind of women aren't winning, because from what I see, like, they're getting everything from men. Like, they're getting the opportunity to become mothers. Some of them are getting the rings now. They're getting trips, houses, cars, all kind of things. And I just don't understand how you, don't see that as winning.
All right. That's a very good question for you to ask there, Misha. First of all, before I get started here, how old are you?
24.
All right. Misha's 24 years old. Do you have any children, Misha?
No.
All right. She's 24
I
years
want some,
old.
but I don't have any.
Oh, that's okay. She's 24 years old. She doesn't have any children. That's great. Last question here. Are your people from the States, or are they come from an immigrant background?
No, we're all from Florida, from my knowledge.
Okay, they're not from the Caribbean, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico.
No.
All right. All right, Misha, let me go ahead and deal with what you just said here. Now, before we can answer your question, we have to have a common frame of reference so that we make sure we're not talking past each other, that we're using the same words, but we're not using it in the same context. So let me find out, first of all, when you say that they are winning, can you give me 3 specific examples? And I know you listed some things, but I would like to ask you, give me 3 specific examples of what you consider to be winning in a manner in which you would want to preserve that for the rest of your life. Since if something's winning, I would assume you'd want to keep winning. So give me 3 examples of where Amber Rose, let me take her for example. Give me 3 examples of where Amber Rose is winning right now.
Well, she's a mother. She got the opportunity to be a mother.
Opportunity to be a mother, ma'am. Possessing ovaries gives you the quote opportunity to be a mother. Will you please explain to me how is quote having the opportunity to be a mother winning?
Well, that's just what I think, because that's something that I desire. So I think that, something that would be considered winning.
Okay. You do realize that's not correct, right?
Well, okay.
All right. Let me explain to you why that's not correct. Do you realize? And what this tells me is you were raised in a single mother home. No offense, but this tells me you're raised in a single mother home where they never discussed for you one thing. They talk about children like they're babies, like they're Cabbage Patch dolls, not like they're actual people. Misha, do you realize you said that phrase several times? Opportunity to be a mother, opportunity to be a mother, opportunity to be a mother, as if there's something stopping you. What you didn't say was the opportunity to be a wife. Now, why is it that has no value to you?
No, well, you said Amber Rose.
Okay, but no. Now you said that you called in and specifically you mentioned that phrase, opportunity to be a mother. You said opportunity to be a mother. You never said anything about a wife from the moment you got on the phone. Even before I said, can you be specific? You said that from the beginning. So let's not mischaracterize that. You meant what you said. Having a baby, you're not putting any value or even any notice on becoming a wife. You skipped straight past that and said, yeah, let's talk about dropping kids off.
No, Jason, what I said was they also get the ring. You didn't hear me say that?
Okay. We're going to come back to that here in just a moment, but you were asked about that and you specifically repeated multiple times opportunity to be a mother. You didn't harp on or put any weight on becoming a wife. So let's be clear about that. However, next thing. Ma'am, being a mother is worthless if you are carrying the children of a worthless male.
I agree.
Okay, but you didn't say anything about that either. Amber Rose is a mother by what type of man?
Well, that's true. I was not speaking about Amber Rose.
Now, Misha, now we can have a discussion here. If you ask me a question, I'm going to answer your question. But if I ask you a question, it's only right that you answer my question as well. Amber Rose, we mentioned her as our example. Amber Rose has had children by what type of man?
Well, Jason, I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know what kind of man he is.
You don't know what kind of, okay, are you looking at your screen right? Okay, so you're not familiar with the men that got pricked children by, but you claim that she's winning? Now, that doesn't sound like an honest statement.
I didn't say that she's winning. You gave her as an example.
Yes, I gave her as an example, and you said, you started with listing off the ways in which she was winning. Now I'm saying, okay, well, how was she winning? And you're saying, oh, well, I don't know enough about her. Amber Rose, when she was with Wiz Khalifa, I think he cheated on her with 2 twins. had it on video or something like that. So I think she had babies with him, and he cheated on her with 2 twins, and yet that's winning. Now A.E. Edwards has sat up here and slept with over a dozen females that he has admitted to. So essentially he got Amber Rose in an open relationship and she didn't know it. And there she is. So will you please explain to me what part of that dynamic to you, and she got children by both of them, I believe, what part of that dynamic by you constitutes winning?
Okay, well, I don't think that she's winning, but from what I see, like on social media and other people,
Wait a minute, did you say that you think she's? Wait a minute, did you
me,
say that you think she's winning?
No, I said I don't think she is.
Okay, but there's my point is
No.
that she's the same as the rest of them. So you can't really name where that behavior is working and winning for anybody. And by the way,
But
she's
the
had the
other-
opportunity
the other-
to be a mother. And now you're saying that thing that you just said was so valuable. Well, she's exercised her opportunity to be a mother by 2 of these guys. And yet you just said, by the way, that was worthless, which is the entire point. If you open your womb to deadbeats and bums, then your womb is trash, and therefore your ability to give birth is worthless because your womb is trash. So it doesn't matter that you have the opportunity to give birth. If you are a hoe, by definition, your womb is open and available to the refuse and the garbage.
Okay, and I understand, but what about all the other women just like her that got married, have children, they live in beautiful
you skip
homes,
forward, you
they
skip
have
forward,
a
you
nice
skip
man.
forward, you skip forward, you skip forward. See, here's the problem with this fantasy-based scenario you're trying to give. What she did was she tries to cover her ass first. Well, what about the women who get married? And excuse me, you're talking about a different type of female then.
No, I know women that I know women like the ones you've been talking about, like Amber Rose, who got married, who have children, that live a pretty good life with a good man.
Okay. Can you give me an example of one that we all can reference here? Because I don't know the people you're talking about, and you're most likely completely incorrect about it. But since these are not people I personally know, I wouldn't be able to dissect where you're wrong about that. So give me an example. It shouldn't be hard to find one, since celebrities have a whole lot more access than the general public does. You should be able to give me an example of somebody that we all know who meets that criterion you just named.
Well, the girl from Flavor Flav got married, and she's
the girl from Flavor Flav. Who are we
Delicious.
referring to?
Sorry, Delicious got married.
Okay,
to a guy
and who?
seems
Delicious got married to a guy. Who did Delicious get married to?
Well, I don't know him, Jason. I don't know his name. I just know she got married before me, and I feel like she's a little bit more out there than I am. What I'm just trying to say is,
Whoa, wait, no. Excuse me. Now, you raised her as an example. Now, if you're going to say that, you raised her as an example. I'm listening.
yes, she got married, and now she's with the man, and there's a lot of good women that still single that still have not gotten married yet.
Okay, slow down. Can you explain to me what are her hoe credentials?
Well, look at what she do on Instagram. I thought men didn't
Okay,
like that kind of
I'm
stuff.
asking you, what are her hoe credentials?
I'm just going off of what I see on Instagram.
Okay, so you're going off of what you see on Instagram.
Yeah, I don't know her personally,
Okay, you're the one who raised her as an example. I'm simply asking you, what are her hoe credentials?
Jason, I don't know. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I don't know.
Well, I did bother to go and Google her real quick. I did bother to do that. She seemed adamant that she never was sexually involved with Flavor Flav. She seemed to be adamant that was not the source. Apparently, she has gotten married to one of the Central Park Five. apparently that happened. They both have kids from previous relationships, apparently. But that's about as much as we can name here. So beyond that, not really sure what you mean there. As far as being on Instagram is concerned, once again, and by the way, I won't be disparaging about these things. What I will say is that as far as that's concerned, I don't see where heavy hoe credentials are. She was out there. I mean, so obviously she was trying to make a name for herself. Okay, that's fine. That's great. Here's the problem with what you're saying there. Can you show me where she is trying to do that? Well, I know, because what you're trying to make is the argument of, well, there are females who engage in hoe behavior, and then at the last minute, they're able to throw a buzzer beater, and they're able to exit out of the game clean. Now, that's what you're trying to say. You're trying to say that. Here's the problem. The problem is that, first of all, you're not delicious. You've never been on TV. Your friends have never been on TV. None of them have ever been able to get that type of shine to them. That's the first thing. Second of all, and without me saying too much in this regard, okay, especially for some folks who've been through some things, without me making this specific to the people that you were talking about here, without me making specific to that, the first question I would ask you is that person married to the type of person that you would want to be with? Because it's not enough for you to just say, well, they got married, days with a man. That's not enough. The quality of the man, I've been saying this the entire time tonight, the quality of the man is what matters. So even to the extent that you can name that, that's still going to be very, very relevant. So first of all, she's got abilities you don't have. None of your friends do. She was able to find something most of them probably didn't find. And even to the extent that you could name one or two who might have, by the way, that's really not good. That's really going to be the exception to the rule. Now, when you take a look at the ones, I mean, when you take a look at the full-blown Kim K and Amber Rose and Faith Evans, we can go down the list here. You can see them taking back-to-back L's. Now, you know what? I will go out on a limb, though. I will go out on a limb. Now, you said that you had some friends, and when you talked about, well, they were doing some things, I wanted us to go ahead and think of one of them now. Just think of one of them. You got her in your head?
Well,
okay, now you were the one who raised your friends as examples. I'm saying, okay, let's go ahead and talk about one of those examples. So would you kindly go ahead and just isolate one of those in your head right quick so we can discuss them?
Well, I know someone who was a stripper for a very long time.
Okay, define a very long time. How long was a very long time?
For about 5 or 6 years. And now she's pregnant. She has a good man, and he takes good care of her. They're not married, but I mean, maybe they might get married.
Okay, thank you. So just that quickly, you invalidated everything just that quickly. So you can't gloss over that and fly over that. Strippers who get pregnant are a dime a dozen. Strippers who get married are as rare as hen's teeth. But you already know that. So you're not talking as if this is the rule and that this is just typical of what happens, that they get married. What you just said, oh, she's a stripper who got pregnant. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Okay. Has she been able to get this man to make a commitment to her as an individual? Yikes, no. And by the way, did she have a baby? By the way, is that her only? A baby is a commitment?
A baby is something that, if they have a baby together, he has to be around all the time. That's like, how come these men, they don't really want to marry the women, but they want to go after the hoes? And
okay, slow down. Back up here. You just said a baby is a commitment.
A baby is a commitment, Jason.
Yeah, I want you all to understand that. She's 24 years old now. And she's telling the world that, well, I told her, has this man made any commitment to the woman? Well, a baby is a commitment. Do you know what a commitment is, ma'am?
I guess I don't, Jason.
I want you all to understand that this is a great opportunity to learn. This is a great opportunity to learn. Needless to say, do you understand that I said to you, has he made a commitment to the woman? And once again, this goes back to what you said here before about, well, opportunity to be a mother. So this tells me what raised you. You were raised by, no offense, a one-track minded, simple-minded female who told you that having a baby is, she probably did it in outrageously oversimplified terms. She never spelled it out. Just in her simple-mindedness, she thinks that a baby signifies a commitment to her.
No, I don't. Okay, that's not what I'm saying.
Misha, slow down. I'm hosting my program, and that is what you said. Because I asked you, did he make what is the commitment that this man made to that woman? And you said, well, the baby is a commitment.
What I mean by that is, if you bring a baby into the world with someone, that you're going to have to deal with that person until that child is an adult.
Ma'am, excuse me. The very reason that we have child support court is because people do not deal with the other person.
Mm-hmm.
The very reason that we have children who need counseling and therapy and social workers and psychiatrists is specifically because people do not deal with the other parent. 80% of black children are born out of wedlock and stay that way and stay raised that way.
Mm-hmm.
Were you unaware of that?
Yeah. Kinda.
Okay, well, it's time for you to get educated about that. 80% of black children are born out of wedlock and essentially stay that way. So, in other words, they're raised by one parent and it essentially stays that way. So, no, ma'am, that is an outrageous extortion, exaggeration to claim that, well, once you have a baby with somebody that you and they are connected. See, that's a fantasy of a female who can't get a husband. Well, if I can't get a husband, a consolation prize will be a baby. And isn't that just as good of a connection as being married? No, because number one, that man most likely did not want. Okay, Misha, learn. Most likely, what you did not mention was that man did not want to get that woman pregnant. That wasn't what he was trying to do. That wasn't his idea. What does this guy do for a living?
Well, like...
No, I don't know. Tell me.
The caller before.
I don't know. Tell me.
He sells smoke.
Okay, so in other words, you have a stripper who got pregnant by the neighborhood $300 sack dope nigga, and that's it.
Well, I guess, Jason.
All right. Okay, so by the way, now what she's just done is she has made a permanent connection of herself, at least genetically, to somebody who his ability to protect and provide, hell, his ability to stay alive or not incarcerated is outrageously tenuous. What does that say about her judgment as a mother?
I agree. But
okay, slow down. Slow down. I don't even know what you're agreeing with. I asked you a question. Misha, let's try this again. I asked you a question. What does that say about the kind of guy she chose to get pregnant by, not even to marry? That tells you how much she believes in being a wife. What does that say about her judgment as a mother, that that's the kind of guy who she considers to be worthy of getting her pregnant? What does that say about her as a mother?
I would say that maybe she doesn't have very good judgment, but I mean...
Okay, well, it's not about just not having very good judgment. What does that say about her as a mother? That of all the men she could have chosen, she chose that one under these circumstances. What does that say about her?
Jason, I'm not sure.
Okay, so let me get this. Slow down. Let me get this straight. And by the way, how old is your friend?
She's 26.
She's 26 and she's been stripping since she was 20.
For, yeah, a very long time.
Yeah, okay, that's not a long time. For a 24-year-old, all right, that's not a long time. She been stripping since she was 20. So in other words, she never even attempted to get a passable skill in life. She just went straight to, look, all I got is this body and that is it. And then she cashes out wrong. She gets pregnant by a guy who has absolutely no stability, very low character, no longevity whatsoever. He most likely has kids by other women, because that's the way that always goes. Yeah, that's why you giggling. And by the way, so she's fighting with the other baby mamas for the leftover $50 that he's got. She's fighting with them. They're all scrapping and fighting because this is their pay grade. This is what they can get. And by the way, you call that winning. I want you all to think about that for a few moments. This was the example you invoked. You invoked that example. This was the example that you invoked, and you call that winning.
Jason, I'm not saying that that's something that's winning. What I'm saying is...
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. You said that those are the ones who are winning. Well, I know a chick who was a stripper, and she got with a guy, and ain't this as good as a commitment? Yeah, that was the example that you invoked of one of the winners.
Okay, maybe my
did.
words were wrong.
No, it's not. You just didn't have a chance to think this through. No, the problem is that up until now, you've been having these kind of conversations with people like your mom. No offense. You didn't actually have these conversations before with a rational adult person who could walk you through this and say, by the way, does this even make sense? Is this where you wish to end up? You're with a bunch of females who want to, let's be very, very clear. When you're with females who've never won, then they just elevate anything, including their stupidity, to the level of winning. When you walk it through to its conclusion and say, is this the end result where I want to end up at? For some strange reason, I don't believe, and I could be wrong based on some of the things you said, but I don't think you really want to end up as a 26-year-old baby mama by a local no good Nick who's sitting up here. He doesn't have a skill that he can depend on. He's 2 seconds away or 1 sentence away from doing the rest of his life in prison in Florida. And you call him that, and you got a baby with him that you'll have to raise by yourself, and calling the simple biological function of giving birth to something like him winning. Not one time did you say anything about prioritizing, Misha, making a priority of the quality of the man. Not one time during this entire discussion have you said that. You haven't said a word about how important it is to have the quality of the man be the primary factor that you consider.
Jason, I was just, my point was, from just based on what I see, what I was just saying was, it seems like these men invest so much in these women, whether or not it's all of their money, all of their time, but it seems like, after investing all of that, they don't, I don't know. I don't want to keep putting my...
Okay, but here's my point. I asked you for example. You called in and said, but these hoes be winning. I asked you to give me an example. You just gave me an example of a chick who is losing back to back to back seasons. You have actually proven my point, is what I'm trying to say. The example you just gave proved everything I said was correct. She is losing. She is a loser, and it's only going to get worse. How many children does she have?
This is her first.
Okay. Delicious was at least able to get this other dude to marry her. He was a single father, obviously. So she was lucky enough to find a single father who was willing to take her in. All right, great. Baby, here's the problem. There aren't enough of them to go around. They are the guys who go off and get chicks pregnant. Usually that's it. They cash out the game and they're done. Delicious, take a look at what she had to do. She had to achieve a level of celebrity and fame to be able to even get that. And no offense whatsoever. I've spoken to the brothers in the Central Park 5. Y'all know that from my film Race War. I got nothing but respect for what they've been through and everything. No offense whatsoever. But she found somebody who was willing and able to do that. That is the exception to the rule. That is not the rule. And it would be wrong and outrageously misleading to try to influence people to believe that's the rule. That can happen for everybody. Numerically, the number of single moms outnumber the single guys by 5 or 6 to 1? And that's if you're being nice about it. In reality, because the guys are the single fathers are 20% of the population and the single moms are half. So when you take that into account, it doesn't work out very well. There's just not enough of them to go around. So it's a fantasy that it's a 1-to-1 ratio. No, it isn't. No, it's not. It's not. And furthermore, to get a man to walk in and commit himself to that, when you got kids by somebody else, your friend is 26 years old. She's a single mom stripper in Florida. She's not even a single mom stripper from Utah or a respectable place. She's a single mom stripper from Florida. Think about that for a few moments. And she's expecting somebody to come along and take her off the market. The dude she got pregnant by is not husband material. She has a child to take care of now, but she's gotten pregnant by a guy who is not and will never be husband material. And from now on, wherever she goes next, that's what you're asking any other man to make an investment in her, not the child. The child is a result. Who's going to make an investment in your friend? Who is going to take your friend and move her to West Palm Beach and invest in her for the next 20 years, not the next 20 minutes of bedtime loving? Who's going to invest in her for the next 20 years? Her and this illegitimate kid she's got by this no good wannabe dope dealer, this bottom feeding, dregs wearing dope dealer. Who's going to do that? That's the question you're not asking. That's not winning. It's not even close to winning. You raised her as an example, and you're absolutely right. That's typical of a lot of females out there. That's the way the whole game ends up. Eventually, what she tries to do is get a man to commit. And what invariably happens is when she attempts to get him to commit and he refuses, which is what usually happens 9 out of 10 times. He refuses to commit to her. She then says, okay, plan B, I'll get a baby and that will get him over the line. Well, that works with a female. Females think that way. Well, once you have a baby, quote, we need to come together. That is not the way that men think. Let me explain to you why, Misha, and everybody else out here listening right now. Let me explain to you why that is. The reason why having a baby with a man doesn't bind a man to you is because a man's connection to the children is no stronger than his connection to the woman. Let me say that again, Misha, so you can tell your mom, your aunties, and all your friends. I know y'all was misleading me all these years, but Jason Black got me on the right foot. A man's connection to the children, well, you're welcome. A man's connection to the children is no stronger than the connection to the woman. If he don't really fool with her like that, or if he didn't really, truly in his heart of hearts desire her to be the mother of his children, if he didn't say, this is it, she's the one, then don't expect that you're having birth with those kids is going to get him over that line to you. It doesn't work that way. Whether he got you pregnant just simply because we've been sleeping together long enough, and that night up until then, I was sitting up here ejaculating and she wasn't getting pregnant. Okay, but if he didn't really want this, if you are not what he really wanted, those children are not going to enhance your value to him. He's not going to look at those children and be like, this is the mother of my kids. No, he has to see you as his woman, body and soul first. The children are a side effect of that. But if he don't really fool with you for real, forget about it. And nobody fools with a stripper for real. Nobody.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Jason. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. You know, the young people tend to get messed up in that regard. They talk to these old hoes who sit up here and just regurgitate and recirculate lie after lie after lie to them because they want to believe that there's hope. They want to believe they got a chance. These old chicks want to believe that at some point they can go ahead and make it out the game and be okay. But the bottom line is it doesn't happen. You can sit up here and you can invoke to me some examples of some strippers. You can invoke to me some examples of some booty models. There might be a local bartender you can name, some registered nurse somewhere. You can do that. But what you can't do is show me where the entire culture is changing across the board. That you can't do. You can't do that because it's not there, because it's not happening. The hoes, understand something. The other thing is you got to take a look at the quality of the man. Is this a guy who is dealing with progressively rising stable income? No. Oh, okay, you're shackled to him. The baby is shackled there because as for the woman, understand what Misha was really saying here. When you're dealing with simple-minded females who are out here having survival sex, and I didn't want to get into that about her with her parents and stuff like that, but let's just say it like it is. When you're dealing with simple-minded females who are relying on survival sex, they are confusing what celebrity females do with what they are doing. That's what they're doing. They're confusing what celebrity females are doing with what they're doing. Let's be very, very clear. Even on her worst day, I gotta say it like it is. Even on her worst day, let's just be very, very clear. Kim K ain't doing what y'all are doing. She's doing something different. She's doing it with a different set of people. So you can't compare her hoeing to yours. Too many of you out there think you can, and you can't. Even to a lesser degree, Faith Evans. But would you want to end up here? Yeah, Faith Evans is so high up on the ladder now that she's going to be paying alimony here in a minute. That's how great it's working out here. So when you get together with other helpless, clueless females, and what you do is you regurgitate your opinions and talk about, well, once you have a baby with a man, they start sitting up here fantasizing about how it's supposed to go after that. Well, after you have the baby, y'all is connected. How many females listening to me right now? How many females listening to me right now are willing to accept that your mama and your grandmama are clueless? How many of you are willing to do that? To the 2 or 3 females listening to me right now, how many of you are willing to have an honest heart-to-heart conversation with yourself and just admit and at least concede to yourself, your mama is clueless? Your grandmother is clueless. They don't understand anything about men. They think that the only advice they can tell you with a man is throw your legs open. Throw your legs open. It's like throwing the long bomb in football. Throw your legs open and hope for the best. Close your eyes, throw your legs open, and hope this works out. Well, do you like him? Does he like you? You don't make any value judgments whatsoever. You like him? He likes you? All right, give it a shot. How many of you are willing to admit, man, grandmama is a dumbass old heifer. She don't know nothing. I love her because she's my grandmother, but she's clueless. How many of you are willing to say that? Because a lot of you are treating these old dumb hens as if they are repositories of wisdom. That's the insane part of it. You are treating these clueless old bats as if they are these tremendous repositories of wisdom. And they're not. Literally sitting up here telling this girl that a stripper getting pregnant by a local $10 dime bag dope dealer who's got kids by other women, that is winning. Hasn't gotten married, hasn't gotten any type of commitment to 90
seconds.
He is doing zero investing in her as a person, and yet her family and her friends have influenced her to believe that is winning. That is something to be aspired to. That is, don't believe that, Jason Black. Why, you know Bushika over there? Yeah, you know Bushika who worked down there at Magic Yellow City? Yeah, we you know her. Yeah, old Bushika down there. Girl, you know she got pregnant by Javante. Sure did. Oh yeah, Javon. Oh, he's so cute. He looked like Future. He's so cute. See, that's good. She's so cute. She got a baby by Javante. It is a damn shame when the 24-year-olds are the most mature people in the room. That is a damn shame. It's a damn shame, and it's scary when 24-year-olds are the most mature people in the room. Shintikia and Scandinavia are sitting up here taking advice from outrageously clueless old women and wayward, lost younger women, sitting up here telling them that the definition of winning is who you can get pregnant by. And this is why I tell you, in case you all thought I was misleading you about that, no, she meant what she said. She meant what she said. Having a baby, just having a baby, is an important thing. If you can get that baby with that dude, you got something. She meant what she said. She said it from the very beginning. Well, they have the ability to get pregnant. There's somebody willing to get them pregnant. Man, these niggas are willing to get all of y'all pregnant. How is that valuable? She literally never had anybody ever ask her, well, how is getting pregnant valuable? So what does that tell you? That tells you she's had a bunch of ridiculous, silly, ignorant ass old women telling her this garbage and never actually clearing this up for her. That's why you need to have a man around, because a man would ask you, well, how is that an advantage? Because a man has to pay for that. A man understands somebody has to pay for that. When you living off the county and a bunch of old chicks sit up here doing everything they can to get a few extra pennies together, they talk simple-minded like that. A man has to take care of that, provide for that, protect for that, has to invest in that. He thinks about that totally differently. So he's going to ask you, well, what's the benefit of just getting pregnant? Because the value of the person you get pregnant by matters. You see, as men, we understand that once you get a chick pregnant, all of a sudden, all kinds of things can happen to you after that. So you have to be careful who you get if you get a chick pregnant. The quality of that female is going to matter. There's going to be the difference between whether or not you get to move on with your life or whether or not you have somebody who is constantly sitting there attempting to use that child to derail it. So a man has to think those things over. If you want to know the reason why the bottom 20% of black men never elevate and will never elevate, it is because those chicks got babies on them. When these broads get a baby on them, she makes sure of one thing. Nigga, if I'm going to be at the bottom struggling, you going to be at the bottom struggling with me. And that is precisely their mentality about it. Their mentality about it is, if I'm going to be at the bottom struggling, if you going to leave me here with this kid and I'm going to be out here bad. See, the females don't think that through. They think that a baby enhances their value. You know why? Because a man with a baby enhances his value to a female. Perception wise. Perceptually, it enhances his value because it gives off certain cues. Well, these females today, without a man around, they don't understand. It does exactly the opposite for you. You carrying around a baby doesn't enhance your value to anyone except the man you got pregnant by, and it probably doesn't enhance your value to him either if he don't really fool with you like that. So you're growing up with all kinds of screwed up misconceptions. You are projecting what makes a man valuable to you and assuming, well, whatever makes a man valuable to me is will make a woman valuable to a man, right? And it does not work that way. It doesn't work that way at all. So then once after you get pregnant, you're sitting there stupid, dumb, knocked up and trying to figure out how you're going to make this work because children get more expensive as they get older. They get more complicated as they get older. And you realize nobody's willing to babysit people are willing to babysit your 6-month-old. They ain't really trying to babysit your 6-year-old like that. They're willing to babysit your infant. They ain't really trying to babysit that 6-year-old. Once he's old enough to be walking around and talking and things, they're like, okay, get this little nigga out of here. Nobody really sees him as cute. Then you realize, oh hell, getting a babysitter is going to be a problem. You're not going to have a life now. And it's one thing if you are sacrificing that and sharing that sacrifice with somebody else. It's another thing when he was like, yeah, baby, I got little dime bags to sell. I can't really be sitting here with this right here. You can go ahead and call the county folk or whatever you want to do. But yeah, I got other stuff to take care of. All of a sudden, it stops being fun. All of a sudden, it stops being okay. All of a sudden, it's not cool. And all of a sudden, the females get very angry and get very vindictive. And all she wants at that point is it's at that point that she wakes up and realizes, I'll be damned, this nigga train wrecked me. Actually, miss, you train wrecked yourself. You played that one on yourself, but you're going to scapegoat him because he didn't do anything you didn't want him to do. But since you're not going to take accountability or responsibility, you're going to scapegoat him. Okay, well, guess what? Now you got to deal with that. Well, now she's like, oh, I'll be damned if I'm going to suffer. If I got to do without, then we all gonna do without. And at that point, she doesn't give a damn what's going to happen. As far as she's concerned, it's nothing but payback time. And this is the reason why when males choose to deal with single mothers, most of the time you're dealing with somebody who is very angry, very vindictive. She's constantly in a state of hostility. She is you always talking about how things are going round and round. These guys have the same stories over and over again. It doesn't matter how many of them they deal with. It doesn't matter how old they are. You're dealing with somebody who's been through the emotional ringer, and all she wants to do now is get even. And since she can't get even with the baby daddy, she is going to project that anger, which probably started with her father, but she's going to project all that anger and all that hostility that she couldn't inflict on them. The next sucker who comes along, you are going to catch all of it. Why? Because you're the only one available. There's nobody else there. You're the only one she can get her hands on. And in her mind, you're just the same. It doesn't matter how nice you are, how polite you are. It doesn't even matter if you're a better class of person. As far as she's concerned, you know what? You're just waiting to get me. So I'm going to get you before you get me. That's the way that works. When you're dealing with these chicks with these stripper mindsets, females who are used to using their bodies to get things, she's been messed over enough times, which is what it was that led her into this. She's been messed over enough times that she's like, okay, screw this. The next one who comes along, I'm going to get him before he gets me. He's eventually going to spring it on me. He understands something. She projects her hatred inward and outward. She projects her hatred inward and outward. And what she says is, he doesn't really want me. He will never really want me. He could never really want me. So he's going to leave at some point. It doesn't matter what he does or what he says. He's going to leave. I don't believe he will stay, because take a look at how screwed up I am. He would never stay for me for good reasons. He's just out to get me too. Well, that's okay. He's got that smile on his face, and he might look otherwise honorable, but he's out to get me too. Well, I'm going to get him before he gets me. Dude, you can't win. You can't win under that circumstance. You cannot win. You can deceive yourself into believing that this is just some temporary thing that you can deal with, or this is just some minor obstacle you can overcome. It is not. This is what it is. It's a permanent fixture, and there it is. There it is. So you're either going to accept that and understand that, or you're going to be steamrolled by it. But make no mistake. Make no mistake. When they have a chance to do it, they will. And they're going to make you pay for everything that they couldn't do to anybody else, because she has lost years of her life, her peak viability. She just watched that go straight out the window. She just watched it go straight out the window. And all she wants to know now is how she can get somebody else to suffer with it. Let me get caller from area code 202. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
And you always have to respond, don't you? Yeah, see, that's why you will be single forever with that attitude. Now, she's cool. I like messing with her. And she loves when I mess with her, don't you? Did you want?
Are you trying to spill my water?
I'm not trying to spill it, that's why I asked. I was going to take a sip. Say, now you did. Uh-oh.
He hung up the phone. Don't know why. No, I'm not going to call him back. But he hung up the phone. Oh, this is reality radio, people. This is reality radio. This is not staged. This is reality radio. It's a bunch of dudes out there. I mean, they are just getting by however they getting by. And it's like, Jason, can you help me with this? Well, did you get her pregnant? Well, maybe. Oh, hell. Dude, what you want me to do then? What am I supposed to say? I mean, he was on this phone with a whole damn problem sitting over there, wasn't he? He was on this phone with a whole damn problem sitting there. He's like, oh boy, you know you ain't no good. Okay, bruh. Fellas, you got something to lose. You got something to lose. They on the phone with me. It's like, Jaden, I got 2-3 kids with it. The hell of crazy. What can I do? Man, look here. What, you calling me 3 kids deep? Call Attorney Mazzaro. I don't know what to tell you. Call Mark Garagos. You can't call me 6 years later. What's the problem? Jaden, can you do some more? Can you help me with it? She crazy. She right here. Dude, you got problems right here. That's all I can tell you. You got a problem right here. And that's it. She got you now. He's sitting on the phone. You know, you're going to be single forever, but you sitting right there yelling at her. So clearly she's not. All right. Look, I try to help these people. I try to help as much as I can. It is what it is. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here right now. I'm going to be doing a patron exclusive here. So for those of you who missed it, especially last week, people have been ranting and raving about that. So I suppose it went very, very well. Well, I got some new things on my mind that I want to discuss on Patreon, not here on YouTube. You ain't going to flag me. But if you haven't joined the Patreon, you want to go ahead and do that. The link is in the description. You can go ahead and look out for that there. I'm looking at probably doing something here this Friday, Christmas Eve. So absolutely, you want to go ahead and join us for that there as well. If you are new here to the business, welcome to the program that laid the foundation upon which all of your red pill, MGTOW, high value posers, alpha male wannabes, and all these other clowns are going to steal and rip off everything that they'll be saying next week. You heard it here tonight. Go ahead and click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Make sure you have it activated for all notifications. Some of you have those things turned off. Make sure you have that activated for all of them there. I want to thank all of you who showed up here tonight. Thank you very much to my man Black Pride, Grinch, King Eli, everyone who's contributed to support tonight's program, either on PayPal, Cash App, or Super Chat. Thank you very much for joining us for that as well. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of The Business. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, Mr. Jason Black. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, handle your business or your business will handle you.